Really just the absolute worst. I think we're going to get married someday.
And now for This Week in Tech, brought to you by LG. An excited groom sends text messages to his buddies during his bride's vows. And a collection of VHS tapes are held onto for one more year. In other news, a burglar makes sure to crack the glass on a family portrait before leaving. There's nothing in the employee handbook about groping dead co-workers, an employee says. And a report finds that nobody's heard from David Blaine in a while, so somebody should probably check to see if he died in one of those things. Mere seconds have passed, yet we feel as though we've known you 1,000 lifetimes. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. It's talk radio you control. The phone number here, if you want to get on the air, is 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's Stu.
Mr. Penguin.
And Angelo. Hey, guys.
Hey.
How you doing tonight?
Oh, not bad. How are you guys?
Yeah, doing pretty well.
I'm hurting a little bit, but it is what it is. My puppy got parvo, and they wanted $10,000 from the vet I took him to treat him, which I thought was just insane. So I did a lot of negotiating. They wanted to keep him overnight and hospitalize him, which is usually what they do. But then they said we have monoclonal antibodies specifically for parvo for dogs, which they were it's $2,000. And I said, well, just give him those. Cause I caught it, in the first day of him being sick, I caught it super early. I didn't let him get super deteriorated. And, it's been 24 hours and my dog has had a 100% improvement. He's back to pretty much being his own self. He's eating, he's drinking, he seems better.
Yeah.
They brought him back from the dead.
So that sounds a lot like the auto mechanic when you go in and they want to do the $800 repair when it could totally be done for $65.
Yeah, 100%. They were trying to fleece me. But I mean, normally parvo, I guess, is if it goes untreated completely, it's like a 90% death rate in puppies.
Yeah.
And even if they do treat them for the treatments that they did have, it was like a 50 to 60% survival rate, and that's even if you spend the $10,000 hospitalizing them.
Oh wow!
But with this monoclonal antibodies, right? This the antiviral stuff. If you catch it early, within the first couple of days of them being sick, it's like a 91% survival rate for the dog, instead of an 80% mortality rate.
Yeah.
Right. So you just totally flip the scales in their favor.
I'm curious. What do puppies cost?
I mean, dude, I don't even. The lady, he's technically like a rescue. I got him from some lady that said she found him in a basement.
Oh wow!
And he was malnourished and to the point where he was eating his own feces. And if you gave him water, he'd drink it until he threw up. Just because he didn't he had no off switch because he didn't know when he was going to get it again. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
So he just gorged himself until he was sick every time he had the opportunity. And she was like $100, and I said, okay, I'll take him for $100. And she said that he'd got his first stuff done. So I guess she lied because he got parvo, his first shots or whatever.
Yeah.
So either his parvo shot didn't work or she just lied to me. Mm. So I spent $100 for him. So now I'm $3,100 total in the hole for this dog.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What are you? I've only had him for 2 weeks, but I guess you could just put him down. But I also I had the money. I had the money, and I did make a commitment to taking care of the little dude, and letting him die within the first 2 weeks. I felt was going to be kind of silly of me, so I bit the bullet and I did what I could for him. But I mean, he's made a complete turnaround. It's almost like a miracle. He woke up this morning just.
What
sick.
form did the medicine come in?
It comes in a vial. It's kind of like the same stuff they were giving people for COVID. What it does is it binds to the virus and it prevents it from replicating.
An injection?
Yeah, it's an injection.
Was it more than one injection? Or just one?
I think the vials are sold in such a way where you do it by weight So if the dog's like 30 pounds, you need 3 vials, or if the dog's 10 pounds, he needs 1 vial. So they kind of dose it out by weight, because a lot of the dogs that
What
get
I'm
parvo
getting at
are
is like you
puppies.
don't have to bring him back for multiple shots, right?
No, it's done. It's a one-time treatment. What it does is it binds to the virus and keeps it from replicating itself. So it stops the viral load in the body from increasing, and all the body has to do is fight off the current active virus that's going around. So like if the virus doesn't keep getting more more particles, I guess, if that makes sense.
You got me wondering about things now. Why it costs $3,000? Are they really hard to make, or is it just
Yeah, I guess it's
Or
well.
does
They
it
just
just
came out with it last year.
cut-
The USDA
cut
just
into
approved
Pfizer's
it.
budget too much? And
I think I think there's 2 places that make it. I was doing a lot of research. It's super new, especially for like dog medicine. Because I mean that's usually behind like human medicine for like breakthroughs.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, because they're not gonna maybe for some treatments, but if they come out with something for humans, it'll be a while for the USDA gets around to like really caring about if it's legal for dogs.
Gotcha.
all right. Well, I've got this story here that I thought we could talk about. It's from Al Jazeera. This is, will millions of low-income Americans lose food stamps during shutdown?
Yes, hopefully.
It looks like about
Hopefully we can get rid of the program altogether.
42 million people rely on SNAP benefits, but now face reductions or losing access altogether.
And hopefully we can get this right alongside all the other programs as well, because, obviously corporate socialism isn't any better than...
That's 42 million people. What are we doing? Like, I get it if a million people are just...
If 42 million, that's it, out of the 350 or so?
That's
that we've
way
got?
too many.
I mean, look...
That's more than 10%.
That's
That's
actually
1 in 10
not as
people.
bad as I thought, but I wonder...
That's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's bad, but like it could be worse, I feel like.
Yeah, it definitely could be worse.
Could be worse.
I'm
But
sure
you
if
know
they
what's-
had it their way, though,
you know
it would
what's
just be
messed up?
100% in the form of
You know what's messed
UBI.
up though about it is it just makes the problem all that smaller, in the sense that some percentage of those people we know are working, and if you got rid of the government programs altogether, their incomes would roughly double the tax. If you get rid of taxation, their incomes would double, and they wouldn't be in poverty anymore. So most of them, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them. A lot of people just do side gigs and pretend like they don't work, and then, use all the government money. But anyways, let's get into this article and see what they have to say. And if the United States federal government shutdown continues, millions of low-income Americans could lose access to a monthly benefit that pays for food. About 42 million people receive money through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, sometimes called food stamps. The Department of Agriculture told states in an October 10 letter that if the shutdown continues, the program would run out of money to pay for benefits in November. President Donald Trump's Republican administration is blaming the Democrats, with Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins repeating a false healthcare talking point on October 16 on X. Democrats are putting free health care for illegal aliens and their political agenda ahead of food security for American families. Shameful. The government shutdown stems from disagreements between Democrats who want Congress as part of approving federal funding to extend expiring enhanced subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, through which uninsured Americans can buy health insurance, and Republicans who want to extend federal funding first before negotiating over whether or how to extend the ACA subsidies. This is another thing I've heard about. It's kind of related, is that I guess you're going to get more expensive health care that gets you less service.
Yeah, I heard it was going to double the cost of health care, and that's assuming that you don't get any discounts or tax breaks from the government in relation to the health care.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Well, that'll be a nightmare for a lot of people that are dependent on the medical system.
I think that's probably a nightmare for everybody who doesn't have their employer paying for it. Yeah.
Well, I just run uninsured because forget that. They already messed it up way too bad. There's no way I'm buying into that scam. You guys can have fun with all that.
Yeah, I don't know if people have any ideas like what it costs to like just do a regular checkup. It's I think it's something like around $900 now. So if you don't have health insurance, just to do a regular yearly checkup.
Yeah, I had to go get a chunk of metal taken out of my eye. It cost $1,800.
Wow.
But yeah, right. And like I could have had one of you guys do it. It wasn't, you don't have to be a specialist. They just had whoever doctor or whatever his name is hanging out on the floor go and grab a needle and dig this thing out of my eye. But I mean, comparatively though, I would have spent $1,800 on health insurance in, 3 months. But you know what I mean? That's the first time I've had to use those guys for anything in more than a decade. So why would I run insurance? It's a losing game.
Yeah. I mean, the whole idea behind insurance isn't to cover your, yearly checkup either. It's to cover, expenses that are like astronomical, if you were to need them. But I do see the absolute insanity of the cost of healthcare these days. And
well, just for them to deny,
right,
just to say no, you don't need the surgery. So it's if you were paying all this money and they approved pretty much everything you needed, that'd be one thing. But you're paying so much money for them to turn around and say no, you don't need it. And for people to say that you want the responsibility of saying no, you don't need it to be in the hands of the government, I think is just as insane as...
Well, I mean, I think what people don't even realize is that it's already in the hands of the government. The government is the reason we have the system that we have. And the reason it's as bad as it is today. It's so much of the healthcare industry is regulated to such a degree, that we don't actually have any kind of cost-effective
and by regulated,
solutions.
Let me clarify that. What happens there is that the health insurance executives write a bill and take it to the government and say, we need this bill passed. And then the government says, well, why should we do that? And they say, because I'll buy you a boat. And then the government says, oh, we need to get this bill passed. And so, and then you get the bill passed, right? And these things are so complicated that you and I couldn't figure one of these healthcare regulation bills. No. And that's why they have a medical coding system, because if you were able to just look and see what the billing was, your jaw would be on the floor.
Well, and there's so many different aspects of the problem when it comes to healthcare, right? Like there's the insurance aspect, in terms of or administrative overhead that gets created as a result of the way healthcare is paid for through health insurance. Mm-hmm. But then there's also like just the so like for example, one of the issues that was created was they wanted to increase the basically wages of doctors, and so they limited the number of doctors that could graduate. So there's way more people who could potentially be doctors than are actually doctors today. Mm-hmm. And it's undermined, the cost effectiveness of getting treatment because you're paying a lot more for your doctors.
Oh, but that wasn't enough. They also decided that the doctors in any given local area ought to decide how many hospitals are needed. And so you can't even open a hospital unless you get the consent of all the doctors in your area.
Oh, yeah. And then during the 90s, HIPAA, they basically digitalized everything. Like they've done so many different things that it's just like, to protect your privacy. But in the process, they've completely undermined it by creating these databases that anybody can access. And of course, every so often they get hacked. And so everybody's private, healthcare information's out there, even though the law was supposedly to digitize and protect your privacy. But it hasn't really been effective because, obviously once it's digitized, it's almost impossible to protect.
Yep.
And stuff like HIPAA has been used to silence doctors or like people who are finding like medical breakthroughs, but they can't talk about them because they'd be violating some sort of statute or regulation or something or other in the, like fear of losing license.
Yeah.
Yeah. Licensure.
Have you guys heard of direct primary care? It's a different business model for doctors where you're basically, you get some sort of subscription to the primary care physician and, it might be $80 a month, something like that. And it doesn't cover major health expenses or anything like that, but it covers it basically costs you what it would cost to go to a doctor for a yearly checkup.
Yeah.
but you can get as much coverage from them as you need. So if you get sick during the year,
what is a checkup though? Because it's like with the well baby visit. If your baby's well, why do they need a visit? Somebody just wants to make some money. If
That's true.
Is the only answer I can come up with.
Well, it would make sense. Like if you get in a checkup and, hey doc, this isn't working correctly. What's wrong here? Because I don't know. Check me up, dude. I need to.
Yeah, if something's
wrong here. I need a checkup.
I mean, I presume, some of this is because, every so often you're going to need, or you're going to probably want like a tetanus shot, or I don't know, something along those lines.
Couldn't you just get? What's silly is that you just can't have somebody do that. Like, why do you need a doctor to give you a tetanus shot? You're just shoving a needle in your arm.
Yeah, I mean that is an interesting question, and
people do that. Every day.
This does come down to regulations, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the only people who can do this stuff are doctors. So
that's right, and this stuff
and that of course increases the cost because you can't get stuff that would otherwise be completely safe for maybe a nurse to do, or even just your local
pharmacist.
A lot of this stuff isn't restricted because it's dangerous. It's just restricted to protect industry.
Oh yeah,
which is sickening.
And that's part of the problem, right? Like and even if it is, even to the whatever degree that you can argue that it's to protect you, well, shouldn't it be up to me to make that decision on whether I want that protection? If I don't want that protection, which is completely unnecessary, if I can make rational decisions for myself, and I can, right? Most of us can. I can do I can do a little bit of research to say, oh, hey, every 10 years I need a tetanus shot. Well, and if you actually ask any doctor, they're going to tell you, oh, even if it's not 10 years, it's perfectly fine to get another tetanus shot. So it's not even like you can endanger yourself in some way, even if you made the wrong choice, for example.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
If we're starting to talk about like mRNA technologies, I don't know if people should just go around changing their DNA level willy-nilly, or their DNA structure willy-nilly. Well, I guess it's your own body. Do what you want.
Well, I mean, that's the crazy thing is though that there are people doing that already, right? In Honduras, for example, there's a island. I can't remember the name of the island, but they've got basically, they're basically doing that, from what I understand. So,
like, how? What do you mean? Like they're just going in and rearranging their DNA sequences? Like, are they changing their hair color? Or?
I don't know enough about it, but stuff like that, basically. Like they're changing their hair color through DNA manipulation of some kind.
Like on humans?
On humans, yeah, on humans. Because
weird.
It's basically they can adopt, what the law says is something like they can adopt the regulations of basically any country. And so you can set up these businesses basically that adopt the whatever environment's the least regulated in the world for that kind of thing. So they do, and so they've just adopted the laws for their business that were most favorable to them, and these are entities that are basically experimenting on humans with consensually, but nonetheless on people who want to go ahead and modify their DNA for various reasons. Now it might just be like eye color, or
the deal is supposed to be
hair color or something
informed
like that,
consent though, and I wonder how informed these guys are. I'm sure they're just given the surface explanation of what's going on, and they don't really dive in deep to exactly how DNA works and all that and what they're trying to find out.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about it, but it seems so there's videos on this, like you can go online, you can watch these videos that have kind of covered this, and it sounds like they're telling people, hey, yeah, this is experimental, and
whatever happens.
Yeah, right. But you're opting into it.
Isn't that how one of those Spider-Man villains got created? I'm pretty sure this is how the lizard guy got made. He was trying to regrow his arm.
Yeah,
using lizard DNA, and he combined it, and then it turned him into this crazy huge reptilian like croc hybrid.
I don't know enough about it, but it sounds like the stuff that people are having done is like, okay, it's been done once, and now maybe it's been done a dozen more times. Like, it's not like
Yeah, but that's how it starts. I mean,
It's
we
not
started
at
by
scale or
by
anything like
cloning
that.
a mouse, and now we're at a point where there's probably cloned people. We just don't talk about it because it's
Well,
illegal.
Cloning people is probably at a totally different scale than like changing your eye color or something like that.
Well, I'm just
So-
saying, but we didn't start cloning
Maybe,
people.
though.
We started like cloning a plant or a mouse or something with
You
the.
guys heard they brought dire wolves back in a Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, I've
fashion,
seen
right?
that.
Well, and
They made-
cloning as far as like plants and things, that goes back thousands of years,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Well, it does, but it starts somewhere, right? And
Right.
with technology, we've just
like we think cloning
hi-
is this modern thing, but it's not. It's just the technology. I mean, technology. Some of the technology is modern that they're using now.
Yes.
yeah. I guess
the
like
meth-
cloning
the meth
mammals
is
is
itself
relatively new.
Yeah, cloning itself does go back a long time.
Oh yeah, well yeah, you can do that with any tree. If you take a branch and replant it, you've just cloned the tree, right?
Yeah, like you splice the
Well,
splice
let
the plant, you put the
splicing
two splices together,
yeah.
and it comes out with something.
yeah, you
new,
can
right?
make like
Yeah.
a whole new fruit doing that.
Right, and that's the stuff that goes back, like thousands of years.
But
so.
like to get a sheep that's a 100% genetic match from its donor sheep, you know what I mean? It's not 50-50 from like a dad and mom. It's a 100% same genetics as the donor sheep. In a mammal, that's a new thing that we've just gotten to. And now if we're already at the point where we can manipulate just hair genetics, I mean, at some point we're gonna be doing it and putting animal genes into human genes. It'll be the new slave.
No, yeah, they're already messing around along those lines.
Yeah,
More
I
than
don't-
a decade ago, they grew a human ear on a rat's back. And
It'd probably be interesting to hear about somebody like, okay, so we're just radio hosts, right? It would be interesting to hear from somebody who actually knows something more about this subject.
yeah, give us
Yeah,
a
well,
call
I've
if
also
you know.
read about like human monkey chimeras that China's grown to like the 24-week stage before they killed them all.
Yeah.
Embryos, and I guess they were viable to a point. That's terrifying.
Someone out there does know about this, and they're like, "Give me the number. It's 603-283-6160. Call us and let us know the details on this stuff." I'd like to get back into this SNAP story. It says here, SNAP is a federal program operated by state agencies. Participants receive an average individual monthly benefit of about $190 or $356 per household. Recipients may use the benefits to buy fruit, vegetables, meat, dairy products, bread, and other foods. The majority of SNAP households live in poverty. Is that, did they actually cut the junk food from the list of things you can
Yeah,
buy?
people lost their minds. I
So
watched.
they actually did that.
Yeah, women. There was videos of people like at the checkout line being, "Oh, what? No, there should be."
So they lost their mind that they can't buy their Twinkies and Twizzlers?
Yeah, they literally lost it.
There's gonna
I
be.
mean, I ain't got $85. This should be. I got my food stamp card. This should. I should. I don't have that money. This should be on my food stamp
This
card.
is gonna be mayhem if these people don't get their monthly juice from Big Daddy Cheese.
Yeah, it's I just think
The really crazy part about it too is it's supplemental, like it's in the name. So like what difference does it make whether or not you're getting your candy, through your SNAP benefits as opposed to, paying for it yourself and just using the SNAP benefits for like what it was intended.
Yeah, well, it's a food group, right?
that's why you
us a
don't
call.
feed the bears.
Are you on SNAP and worried about this? Give us a call. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government. The real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Tony Waterman, and this is the Week in Review. The week started off in dramatic fashion with a brazen daytime heist at the world's most famous museum. Thieves stole 8 pieces of diamond, pearl, and emerald-encrusted jewels from the Louvre on Sunday morning, valued at more than $100 million. Investigators spent the week trying to track down the perpetrators before the artifacts can be melted down or broken into parts for resale. FSN's William Denslow reports from Brussels.
In a social media post, Emmanuel Macron said that the theft amounted to an attack on France's heritage. He added that everything is being done to recover the stolen jewels and bring the perpetrators to justice. The thieves launched the raid at 9:30 a.m. local time on Sunday morning and were in and out within 7 minutes, snatching several pieces of jewellery, including a necklace laced with emeralds and diamonds belonging to Napoleon's wife.
This week was also dominated by news out of Gaza, where a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is coming under intense strain. Pockets of violence have erupted on both sides, and Vice President J.D. Vance spent part of the week in Israel trying to restore calm. On Thursday, the vice president slammed Israel's parliament vote on annexing the West Bank. FSN's Blake Sifton reports from Tel Aviv.
At the end of his visit to Israel on Thursday, Vice President Vance said that the International Stabilization Force envisioned for Gaza would take the lead on disarming Hamas, one of the most difficult challenges in President Trump's 20-point peace plan. According to the original plan, the International Stabilization Force was meant to assist with securing Gaza as Israeli forces fully withdraw. The U.S. has said they won't put troops on the ground in Gaza, and a mandate to disarm Hamas could dissuade countries from participating out of concern that their soldiers could engage in direct conflict with Hamas.
The other conflict in President Trump's line of vision, Russia's war in Ukraine, also entered new territory this week. The White House slapping new sanctions on Russia's oil industry in an attempt to get President Vladimir Putin to the negotiating table. FSN's Charlotte North reports from Washington.
The US has sanctioned Russia's 2 biggest oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil, that help fund the Kremlin's war against Ukraine. This is the first direct intervention from the Trump administration against Russia over its invasion and follows a series of sudden shifts in US policy over the past week. After a phone call with Putin last week, peace talks in Budapest were on, then abruptly cancelled a few days later. The US leader had a testy meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky. President Trump may have finally gotten fed up with both leaders and is now playing hardball to pressure them to agree to peace. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio you control. You can give us a call and get your thoughts and ideas on the air. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. And Free Talk Live is brought to you by LibertyMinded.com. Official Free Talk Live gear like t-shirts and hoodies are available at LibertyMinded.com. Plus, you'll find a unique collection of cool and funny, liberty-oriented clothing at LibertyMinded.com. That's LibertyMinded.com. In the studio tonight, it's Stu.
Mr. Penguin.
And Angelo.
We were talking about the possibility of people losing their SNAP benefits. We were reading a story from Al Jazeera. This is continuing the story. Lawmakers and social media users have made several statements about SNAP with varying degrees of accuracy about the shutdown and the Republican tax and spending law that Trump signed in July. Here's a closer look. Many social media posts say food stamps will disappear on November 1st. Many social media posts have said food stamps are going away as soon as November 1st. Let that sink in, just in time for the cold season and the month of giving thanks, one Instagram post said. That could happen for millions of people, but it might not happen for all of them, and it could happen throughout the month of November because the monthly date when people receive their benefits varies by state. The Trump administration could use SNAP's contingency fund to pay for nearly 2/3 of a full month of benefits, or it could transfer other agriculture department funds, according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, a liberal think tank. The administration has said it has found funding to continue the Women, Infants, and Children's program, another food program for low-income families.
That's WIC.
According to an Agriculture Department funding lapse plan, SNAP shall continue operations during a lapse in appropriations, subject to the availability of funding. An Agriculture Department letter told states to hold off on steps that would lead to people receiving their November benefits. Federal regulations require that reductions be made in a way that higher income recipients lose more benefits than the lowest income recipients. We asked administration officials for more detail, but received no response to our questions. Many state officials, including in Illinois, New York, North Carolina, Texas, and Wisconsin, said that if the shutdown continues, participants might not or will not receive benefits in November. A spokesperson for the Florida Department of Children and Families told PolitiFact that if the shutdown continues into November, benefits will not be issued. California Governor Gavin Newsom said on Wednesday that he will deploy the National Guard and California Volunteers, a state agency to support food banks and provide $80 million in state money. Empty cupboards and stomachs are not abstract outcomes, Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers told Rollins in a Wednesday letter. They are very real and near consequences of the dysfunction in Washington. These are also consequences you can prevent today. Hold on, aren't these the consequences of letting yourself become dependent on the government?
That's what I was thinking. Why are you?
Is it really the government's fault, or is this your fault?
I mean, like, I can think of much better funding for certain programs, but like this is definitely not one of them. Mm-hmm. Like for example, air traffic controllers. That's unfortunately government funded. But I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's airports
a desperate need for them
shutting down. Like you might have a 50% chance of like catching a plane you get halfway to your destination and your next flight is canceled if you have a layover, for example.
That's funny.
You might get to your destination and not be able to get back because about half the flights are getting canceled, something like that.
Yeah. And of course, they've got it set up in a way that there can't be a free market solution to that one. There's just no, like, you can't set up an alternative.
I'm sure
air traffic control.
I'm sure there probably could be a free market alternative, but of course, because it hasn't been done that way.
Not at the current
You'd have
setup.
to have shared information from the established one, though, and it would be a nightmare. You'd have to have their cooperation.
I'm pretty sure that you could come up with a free market solution to this problem at this point, like even if it was something that was needed at some point in the past.
Yeah, it could be like privatized or something.
Yeah.
But you would definitely need the cooperation of the existing infrastructure.
Yeah. I mean, there has to be some sort of system implemented, but I bet you could put together a better system than what we've got today that isn't so dependent on, air traffic controllers, but rather just an automated, decentralized solution. But there's no incentive to put something together because obviously, what you're not going to use something that you're not allowed. Like you can't use something, right? Like so, if you can't use something because some other solution exists, then
but that's
it's never going to get developed.
Yeah, that's true. But it's also like as soon as you try to use anything like that, you're going to have the entire force of the United States on your shoulder. Like try to open up an Like if you went and tried to open your own airport right now with like your own unregulated airstrip,
right?
Like, dude, they'd be at your door
Never gonna
tomorrow.
happen.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah. But there is no reason that like you could not have planes, with technology now, communicate with each other as opposed to with some centralized ground station. I mean, I'm not saying the technology exists in the sense that the technology exists, the solution doesn't, I guess is sort of the way to phrase it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a problem. It definitely has possible solutions, but it's been made such a mess out of that. I don't know. It wouldn't be easy to get it straightened out anyways.
But to your original point,
it doesn't function that well,
Stu,
in the first place.
We were talking. Yeah, I feel like it is your fault to rely. The fact that a bunch of people aren't getting along, for somebody that's in California, the fact that a group of people can't agree on something 3,000 miles away from your house is going to make you depend on if you're getting food that month or not, sounds 100% your fault.
Yeah.
Why should those guys have any like legitimate impact on your day to day? They're across the world essentially.
Yeah. I think this definitely goes to suggest that maybe these things, to whatever degree that they exist, should be more localized. Why is it that the state governments are distributing the funds but they're received from the federal government? Each of these states is contributing to those federal funds, so shouldn't it just be state period? Like why do we have to give money to the federal governments only to get that money back, right? And that's basically what's going on here. And because the federal government isn't functioning, well, now the state programs don't work anymore.
Yep, kind of funny how that works.
Well, but if Gavin Newsom's able to find $80 million to throw at his SNAP recipients,
but why should he have to find that $80 million when they're already sending that money to the federal government, right? Like,
true, but they're also so deep in the red. Like California's broker than broke.
Well, it's because they spend more than they are bringing in.
Well, but that's every government,
right? I mean that doesn't have to be. That's something that they have chosen to do. And if they started cutting programs that don't actually need, they wouldn't be in the red.
Yeah, well, that's kind of why my policy on whether or not it's a bad thing to take government benefits is the metric you can tell by is if you need it. Then you probably shouldn't be taking it.
Yeah, like I don't think
if you don't need it, go ahead and take it. Take it all you want. I think because that's plunder anyways.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is that the government, in a lot of cases, sort of forces you onto these benefits in the first place, because they've taken from you money, from your paycheck and the past, and so therefore your personal savings, hasn't built up to a point where you can take care of an emergency and you don't have a rainy day fund, right?
Yeah,
and you're sort of stuck.
You can look and blame them for what they've done to you, or you can just find a different way.
Well, I mean, sure, it's to some degree, I think you're right, but I think there is some blame to go around, as far as democracy and people, the choices that people have made in terms of voting that have gotten us into this situation in the first place.
Well, voting kind of, I would call it more a lack of vigilance and like. Politics became such a clown show such a long time ago that it should like the alter or abolish thing should have happened within 20 years of the new country anyways, because it was pretty clear, like right off the bat, you had Whiskey Rebellion, like this
Shays Rebellion,
that's not what this was all supposed to be, right? So should have done it then, alter or abolish. Now you're like so far down the road that it's a mess. You're looking at the new world order coming in. You can have a one world government.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting the Whiskey Rebellion you're referencing, because it's probably something that's not very well known about in history, and I don't know if I have all the right details perfectly here, but basically they used instead of using like cash, because at the time like cash hadn't quite reached the outskirts of what was the United States, and so what was used instead was whiskey. And at a certain point, the U.S. government, the federal government, decided to tax whiskey, I believe it was, and that's what caused the rebellion. So,
how are you taxing? Like an income tax? We had a rebellion.
It's like a tax,
some sort of an income tax.
It's like a tax on dollars, right? Like the government was stealing.
Isn't that essentially what all taxes are? Is essentially a tax on the dollar. Like you're using the dollar for this service, so we're going to take our tax percentage.
Not necessarily, because I don't think so necessarily, because taxing the dollar is more like inflation, right?
True.
And so this is sort of like inflation on whiskey or something along those lines, because that's what was being used as cash or in place of cash. But the crazy thing is the cash wasn't there. So like why should the U.S. government, when it wasn't supplying enough cash to get to these remote areas, why should they then have to pay a tax on it? Right. It was just absolutely insane.
True.
Yep. It was, especially when like the whole representation thing it was never going to work. You can't possibly have a group of 10,000 people and one person is going to represent all of them equally and fair.
Yeah, that doesn't work at all. I mean, the whole democratic system is basically a joke. I mean, if democracy worked, libertarians would not be in control of New Hampshire. Free staters make up something like 0.01% of the population here, and yet we have 25% of the House and 20% of the Senate. And that's just going to increase over the next years. It's not a representation of the population of New Hampshire.
That's a great example.
Yeah, and I think it's a perfect example. It's now in most other places, it's not the majority who make the decisions. It's a very small percentage of the population that ultimately end up making the decisions for you. So I'm not saying that it's not a better solution than like just some random dictator, but we're brainwashed into thinking democracy is the solution, and it's not. It doesn't work well at all.
The whole deal was that it was dependent on a well-educated citizenry.
Well, right, and it wasn't. It was originally you couldn't vote. You and I couldn't vote. Well, I mean, maybe I would be able to vote because I have land, but the point is, only landowners could vote, right?
Yeah.
So the idea was you just had to have skin in the game.
Yeah.
How do you vote in a property tax if you don't own land? That is what really broke my brain. And I was like, well, this is really all just a lie. Then everything we're doing, because like how can you vote to increase the taxes on stuff you don't have any part in? Like you don't own any land, you rent. So why would you vote to increase the property taxes? Like you have no skin in this game. You're just taking.
The crazy thing is, like, you kind of do have skin. Like, okay, I get where you're coming at it from, but this is the misconception I think that people have about property taxes. You're paying property taxes through your landlord. So like, but people don't understand this concept. This is a very basic concept.
Yeah.
So
like cut your nose off to spite your face.
They think they're voting to increase taxes and then getting handouts like, for example, food coupons, right? But at the same time, they're literally undermining themselves, because in the process there's a cost to administering these programs, and you're gonna lose about a third of the value, right? So but if you just didn't have those property taxes, well, your rent would go down, and thus you wouldn't need the program in the first place, right? And so you have this sort of weird situation where people vote for what they think is in their best interest, but it's not necessarily in their best interest. They just think it is, right?
Yeah.
And then politicians do this across the board. So it doesn't matter, and certain groups benefit more than others, right? So corporate interests, for example, generally benefit quite greatly. I mean, if we look at like COVID, for example, it wasn't you and me who were getting those funds for the most part. Well, I'm a business owner, I do get a little bit more than most, but not relative to the big corporations, right? So the point that I'm trying to make is, like, depending on what group you fit into, these things are not in your interest. They're definitely not in your interest, and for the most part, it's not in your average individual's interest. It's only in the the people with more money to begin with interests overall. So this is why libertarians have kind of the best solution to the problem is get rid of all the government, or at least as much as you reasonably can, and then everybody basically is going to be better off for it in the long term. Even when you're talking about programs that otherwise you think benefit you, which they do, but only not but they don't benefit you to the degree that getting rid of all the programs in the first place would benefit you, because of the reduction in costs of living and taxes and things like that.
Yeah. So, yeah. And this current system could maybe theoretically work kind of okay if it stuck to the original plan of defense of the individual rights.
But that's not what we have,
but
right?
So it was the defense of the individual rights,
right?
But you don't have, so that's not what it is in a food assistance program. They're not defending your individual right to not starve because you don't have one. You have an individual right to seek food.
Yeah, you have the right to try, right? And that's the thing that people sometimes like. You have the right to try to get a job. You don't have the right to a job. You know.
Yeah. So I don't know. They got people all confused about what the function of government was supposed to be. I mean, it's no wonder though. It's that nobody can even think past the end of the week or like what's happening in the NFL.
Yeah,
because they've been pre-programmed to not do so, and to learn new things is painful and hard.
Yep.
So they won't do it.
I think there's another problem here is that people don't plan anymore, and it's only gotten worse over time because as the government steps in more and more and more, it's like, where's the incentive? If you don't plan for a rainy day, you don't save up your funds, save up a little bit of money for when your crop fails, for example. Well, what are you going to do? You're not going to save that money, and then you expect the government to step in because otherwise you'll starve to death, right? Well, that shouldn't have happened, and it's your own poor decision making and your lack of planning that has resulted in that. And previous generations in that they have voted for these big government programs rather than do what their ancestors did, which is plan stuff out better.
I'm just worried, like, if we do cut all these benefits and there's a bunch of people that suddenly aren't getting what they're used to, well, it's like when you feed the bears and then suddenly you cut the food off from the bears. What do? They start getting angry and they start tearing into people's houses or trash cans, and they start looking for the food that they were used to getting. So they kind of lash out, right? Because it's like, where's the food? I'm used to getting this free food. And so now I'm going to act out when I don't get it. What's the backlash going to be from these people?
And that's an interesting question. So from a sort of like a sociological perspective, I guess, and from a society as a whole, right? Like, because you don't really want to just stop the funding outright. What you really need to do is you need to put in the programs to educate people and then slowly phase it out, because you're right, you do have risks like that, and those risks increase if you simply cut off those benefits altogether.
Well, we are, like, November 1st, we're cutting off the benefits. The money's gone. So, like, are we going to see in the next month or two like social unrest because there's going to be suddenly a group of people that are hungry, and hungry people are desperate, and they're going to do desperate things, right? That's just how stuff works. When people are starving, they start to act irrationally. That's what happens.
Well, and there's a lot of social media posts starting to come up about how if I don't get my food stamps, I'm going to go in the store and rob it. And if anybody tries to stop me, I'm going to get violent. I'm like,
well, I mean,
we'll see how it goes.
Part of the problem, though, is that we've also got these other laws that prevent people from defending themselves, right, and their stores on their property. So, I mean, you kind of got to get rid of those laws, and then also focus on.
And not only that, but if you're just the employee of Walmart, what?
I'm not putting my life on the line.
I'm
for
not
Walmart.
Stopping somebody from robbing the place. Go ahead.
No, but you would
knock yourself out.
But
man.
Here's the thing: you could hire private security, right? And the private security, would maybe defend the store, for example.
Yeah, I guess if that's their job and they want to keep it.
Well, right, and also they might be getting paid a little bit more for that, right? I mean, your cop's going to get paid more than your average, worker, a Walmart employee, right? But at the same time, if you got rid of cops, you're going to end up hiring somebody to defend your store, and maybe they won't get paid as much as a cop, but they'll still get paid more than the your average store employee. So
yeah, but there's only so much private security is going to do against the mob, right? Our founding fathers wrote about how terrified of the mob they were. So when the mob's at the front door, but people are just going to turn around and walk away and let them do their thing.
There's private free market solutions to this problem, right? But
we're not going to get there in 2 weeks, and that's when they cut the money off. You know what I mean? Walmart's not hiring. What do they call themselves? They've changed their name 8 times. The one we use in Iraq all the time.
The problem is that there's no incentive to come up with a solution. There's no incentive for the private market to come up with a solution to this problem in that time, because the government is going to basically destroy your business as soon as a couple weeks later, right? So it's sort of creating the problem, and then it's making the problem worse, because if it cut it off We might have turmoil in the short term, but if it continued to be cut off indefinitely, then the free market solution would come about to solve the problem. But because nobody's going to invest in a business that's going to be shut down 2 weeks after that, right? You end up with no solution for those couple of weeks that it ends up getting shut down, right?
So we just kick the can down the road. That's what I mean. Like, we're not. Well, but what I was getting to with the bears kicking over the trash cans and being a menace, you know what happens to the bears if they become too much of a menace? They get put down. They'll go kill them.
Sure.
And then that's that. It's done. So like, that's the response we have for bears, and humans are a lot more smart and resourceful than bears. And if we have to put the bear down, like, we can't just relocate people. We're going to arrest a ton of folks. Like,
there's actually a lot of people out there that are not much smarter than the bear.
That's true.
I think bears you probably would find are smarter than the human in many cases.
But yeah, have you guys seen that video? This bear walked into a gas station in California, picks out like one pack of candy off the rack, and then walks back out.
I mean, there are stupid people out there, right? Like, I mean, I don't consider myself to be the smartest person in the room here necessarily, but like, most people are stupider than you, and that's the thing. Like,
I guess on average, I just assume everybody's competent, and maybe that's a flaw I have, but maybe it's too much of like a optimist view. But I just assume every adult human's like almost as competent, if not more so, than I am, just because like, I'm just a regular guy in my head.
Have you ever looked at the statistics for reading? Like, they're going down, right? And it's
that's just because we're not teaching. We let kids sit on iPads and freak out.
Well, I mean, the problem is when you look at the adult population, and it's like, what percentage of the population can read at like a 5th grade level or something like that, or an 8th grade level. It's even worse for like an 8th grade level, but like just at a 5th grade level, like there's a percentage of like, you wouldn't think there's a percentage of the population that can't read at a 5th grade level, but there actually is a percentage of the population that can't read at a 5th grade level, and it's getting worse.
Or even if they can read, like, what are they reading, or do they even read? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they might be able to, but are they reading anything worthwhile?
Yeah, well, I mean, so okay, so one of the things that was true, 25 years ago, is that your average person got a newspaper delivered, and those newspapers were written to a 5th grade reading level. Okay, how many people get the newspaper anymore?
Oh, that's almost a dead industry.
Right, exactly. And now you wonder, people can't read, it's like they're not teaching it in schools.
No. Well, but we're also we're not even letting teachers try to teach, and parents aren't being parents. You know what I mean? Like, the kids are just awful. They don't want to sit, like, we're not letting, like, I get the government schools are terrible, but like, the government schools aren't even functioning at any level right now.
Well,
at all. We're not even getting them to learn how to read. The government schools used to at least put out people who could read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the reading comprehension level actually got it got up there. It was something in the 90-something% range.
Yeah.
Like, it was pretty good.
Well, books used to be TV, so people did it a lot.
Right. But it's drastically declined over the decades.
Yeah, people think that people used to be dumber, but they were way smarter than they are now.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, government. Or thanks, Obama.
And that was without education programs.
Give us a call. Let us know what you think. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people like passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Tony Waterman, and this is the Week in Review. The week started off in dramatic fashion with a brazen daytime heist at the world's most famous museum. Thieves stole 8 pieces of diamond, pearl, and emerald-encrusted jewels from the Louvre on Sunday morning, valued at more than $100 million. Investigators spent the week trying to track down the perpetrators before the artifacts can be melted down or broken into parts for resale. FSN's William Denslow reports from Brussels.
In a social media post, Emmanuel Macron said that the theft amounted to an attack on France's heritage. He added that everything is being done to recover the stolen jewels and bring the perpetrators to justice. The thieves launched the raid at 9:30 a.m. local time on Sunday morning and were in and out within 7 minutes, snatching several pieces of jewellery, including a necklace laced with emeralds and diamonds belonging to Napoleon's wife.
This week was also dominated by news out of Gaza, where a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is coming under intense strain. Pockets of violence have erupted on both sides, and Vice President J.D. Vance spent part of the week in Israel trying to restore calm. On Thursday, the vice president slammed Israel's parliament vote on annexing the West Bank. FSN's Blake Sifton reports from Tel Aviv.
At the end of his visit to Israel on Thursday, Vice President Vance said that the International Stabilization Force envisioned for Gaza would take the lead on disarming Hamas, one of the most difficult challenges in President Trump's 20-point peace plan. According to the original plan, the International Stabilization Force was meant to assist with securing Gaza as Israeli forces fully withdraw. The U.S. has said they won't put troops on the ground in Gaza, and a mandate to disarm Hamas could dissuade countries from participating out of concern that their soldiers could engage in direct conflict with Hamas.
The other conflict in President Trump's line of vision, Russia's war in Ukraine, also entered new territory this week. The White House slapping new sanctions on Russia's oil industry in an attempt to get President Vladimir Putin to the negotiating table. FSN's Charlotte North reports from Washington.
The US has sanctioned Russia's 2 biggest oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil, that help fund the Kremlin's war against Ukraine. This is the first direct intervention from the Trump administration against Russia over its invasion and follows a series of sudden shifts in US policy over the past week. After a phone call with Putin last week, peace talks in Budapest were on, then abruptly cancelled a few days later. The US leader had a testy meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky. President Trump may have finally gotten fed up with both leaders and is now playing hardball to pressure them to agree to peace.
The government shutdown entered its 4th week, with Republicans urging President Donald Trump to engage in the stalemate with Democrats. Lawmakers in the Senate continued to vote on the dueling funding bills this week and continued to fail to pass them. FSN's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
So far, President Donald Trump has said he won't engage or negotiate with Democrats until they pass the Republican bill. Democrats, though, have ruled out supporting the legislation as it doesn't include an extension to healthcare subsidies for millions of Americans. Some Republicans are now privately urging the president to take a more front-seat role. In the meantime, Republican lawmakers are eyeing several strategies to put pressure on their Democrat colleagues, including planning a vote on giving pay to the military and considering a funding extension that would keep the money flowing into the new year.
For a week that started with drama, it ended with drama too, with shocking allegations of widespread corruption in the U.S.'s National Basketball Association. An NBA player and coach are among more than 30 people arrested by the FBI as part of a sweeping investigation into illegal betting and rigged poker games. U.S. authorities said the two separate but related cases involved tens of millions of dollars in illegal profits. FSN's Jagruti Dev has more.
At a news conference, FBI Director Kash Patel announced investigators had uncovered a mind-boggling level of fraud. He said one case centered around an illicit gambling operation with ties to the mafia. The other case, he said, involved an insider sports betting scheme. Chauncey Billups, head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and Terry Rozier, who plays for Miami Heat, are two of the high-profile arrests announced by U.S. officials on Thursday.
And that was the Week in Review. For Feature Story News, Tony Waterman reporting.
Pushed to the breaking point after constantly being taken to task without ever hearing a word of thanks for what it does around here, an overwhelmed and infuriated nation announced in February that it was trying, okay? Jesus Christ. A poll of the American populace revealed that 33% felt they were doing pretty damned well, thank you, while another 28% just wanted 2 freaking minutes without somebody breathing down their neck.
We're trying as hard as we can here. How about cutting some little slack for a change, huh? You know what? This is just bullshit. I do not need this shit.
Christ Almighty, sources added. God distanced himself from the entire right-wing fundamentalist Christian movement, saying that he did not believe pregnancies result from his divine will. The Almighty Father went on to dismiss capital punishment, gun rights, the anti-abortion movement, and the efforts of the Westboro Baptist Church, while adding that he and Christian conservatives, quote, no longer saw eye to eye on the majority of issues. And physicists discovered that the entirety of our known universe is actually the fictional setting of a cop show called Hard Case.
This is the Onion News Network.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. Is talk radio you control? You can call in and get your thoughts and ideas on the air. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. Are you tired of the oppressive rules and moderation of the big tech social media sites? Our Mastodon server at social.freetalklive.com can set you free. Mastodon is free, open source, decentralized, and federated. Multiple apps are available for iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and Linux. Social.freetalklive.com. In the studio tonight, it's Stu.
And Mr. Penguin.
And Angelo.
We've been talking tonight a lot about the the well-running drive for government benefits on a lot of people. But right now we've got callers on the line, so we're going to go straight to the phones. On-screen caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Oh, this is Sarah from Albuquerque.
Hi, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm just amazed that our police union, they're endorsing our current mayor, and I am completely baffled.
Why is that?
Because I have never known our police union to ever endorse a Democratic candidate. It's always been a Republican. I don't know why.
That just shows that that Republican guy, we looked at his website the other week, he's actually nuts. And he's no good. If the police union's like, yeah, this guy's too much, we'll just back the current Democrat, then you know the Republican candidate has to be in the toilet.
Well, he pretty much is the toilet. Because okay, what he said was that one of the things that we had all these homeless shelters, that Gateway, Family Gateway, Sobering, Gateway Youth, and he promised when he gets elected, he's going to destroy all of it and treat the homeless like criminals and bring back the homeless prison shelter that we had before.
Oh, and the cops don't want to deal with that.
Really? But the cops don't want to deal with that? Like,
no,
they have to be in the middle of it?
No, because then you're just putting, the cops don't want to put their lives on the line for you. And they definitely don't want to put their lives on the line.
They want to be a hero. So, like, you know, they want to save, like...
No, they don't. They're going to sit outside the school when it's time to be a hero. What are you talking about?
For the first 5 years or so. Well, that's a lot. That's the mindset of a lot of them that sign up. They figure out real quick how the game actually works, and they either quit their job or they fall in line. But a lot of them sign up with that intention, I think.
But who wants to get stabbed with a dirty meth needle trying to get this guy off the sidewalk?
Nobody wants to deal with
you're not
that.
going to pay him enough to do it to begin with.
Yeah, nobody wants to deal with that problem.
Well, I got my idea is that our current mayor right now, he's really believes in using automated AI
God.
assist and help the police. That's his big thing. It's like, I want to have speeding cameras. That's less cops to have to write out a speeding ticket. You know, I want the spot fodder where you could somebody shot off a fire. We have license plate reader. All these things, AI, drones.
Mm-hmm.
It's to support the police so they could really go after the criminals.
Oh, yeah.
And
so, of course, the police support more surveillance.
Yeah, if you're a cop and you have all these toys, it's going to make your job way safer and way easier. You're going to get a lot more convictions, and you're going to be in way less danger.
Well, I think that makes sense why this time the police union is like, that makes sense. That's less burden on me. But the other guy, Darren White, supposedly he was a former sheriff. He said, well, I'm going to get rid of all of the speeding cameras because I'm going to put the real officers to give out tickets. Yeah, right. You know, like you're going to really accomplish that. Everybody else tried and they could not do it. So what makes you any different?
Sounds like you're in favor of the automation.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. The automation, it helps relieves the police of actually having to pull over people, getting shot at to do a criminal check.
So can we get rid of the cops if they're not doing anything anymore? If we're going to implement the automation, we might as well get rid of the cops. There's no point to having cops if they're not ticketing people because that's all they do anyway.
Yeah, if you got a bunch of RoboCops, you don't need the people.
To get rid of. How about that? We're short like 500 officers. We're supposed to have our numbers.
Says who?
Yeah.
And what's the basis for that?
Okay, supposedly that we're supposed to have about 2,000. We only have like 800.
But why? Why is it 2,000? Why is it not 10 cops, right? Or 100 cops? Like what's the 2,000 number based on?
Well, the thing is, if you call 911, you'll have to wait like 3 hours to get any kind of help. You're better off just killing them yourself, and then they'll show up to take the body away.
Yeah,
no, they won't. No, they won't. Cops don't do that.
Come out next day. Somebody's breaking into your home.
That's not what cops do.
Taking your cars away.
What's not what cops do?
Cops don't haul away the body.
Well, no, they call the coroner.
Yeah,
right? But they'll show up and look at the mess and call the coroner.
That might be.
You want to know how you get the cops to your house in 5 minutes? If you really want to know, Sarah, is you say if somebody's breaking in, you tell the dispatcher that you're going to kill the person breaking into your house, and you'll have a cop there in less than 5 minutes. I promise you. If you say you're going to defend yourself, they'll no. If you say, hey, this guy's breaking in, I'm going to hurt him, I have a firearm, a cop will be there within 5 minutes. If you don't tell them that, they might show up 3 hours later. But if you tell the 911 operator that you're going to defend yourself, I can almost guarantee you that a cop will be there within 5 minutes to keep that perpetrator from being injured.
But they're gonna try to get here, but in Albuquerque it might take 30 minutes. Even if you say I'm gonna shoot this person, because we don't have enough police. What are your population ratio to the cops? You're pretty close, like. For whatever your population is, you have enough police to cover that. Here in Albuquerque, we don't have any because they get our training. They come out of the school. If they get any good, the other states that pay them more, they get all the good cops, and they get all sucked away. That was our complaint. We give them all this training from our New Mexico colleges.
Just to let you know, Sarah, there are no good cops.
Yeah.
No, but all the good, talented ones, we don't have them out
There
here
are talented
anymore.
cops. They're rare, but there are some talented ones. But they're all doing a bad job, and they should stop. Thanks for the call tonight, Sarah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess.
Oh, I forgot to ask
the mayor.
for our
The mayor
benefits.
in Albuquerque is in favor of the AI tech surveillance, New World Order stuff, like all the You know,
like the rest of them, because it makes their jobs easier.
Yeah, it does.
They're people managers. There's middle management. They're people managers. That's all they do. So if I can automate the management of these people, I don't actually have to pay attention to what they're doing or what they want. I can just have a computer do it for me, and I just sit in my office behind my big oak desk and smoke a cigar.
Did you guys ever
laugh.
catch cops sleeping on the side of the road before?
All the time.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's like, why are we paying them? Like, I don't get it.
Or even if they're not sleeping, like you see them sitting there on the side of the road and they're not looking at traffic. They're just, they're just like, I don't know.
Yeah, a couple days out of the year,
They're just playing on their
the
phone
cops
on the clock.
will pull people over and ticket them, but like most of the time,
dude, my school resource
not even
officer
doing that.
smoked meth with one of my friends.
Okay, so he's a law enforcement officer with one of your friends. Okay, gotcha.
He was like our school cop, like the guy who sat at the high school with us. Like we've known him for.
The school cop was
school cop was
for
doing
some
dope
reason,
with.
he was
with,
always
with
one of the most
tweaker kid.
dirtiest guys.
Yeah, he's awful. I guess they found him on Grindr too. I heard. So he was just
A
like
lot of school
and he
cops
was
are
married
like
with
that.
a kid, and he was one of the deputies. And I guess I was just like, oh man, he's like in it. He's like living a whole double life.
All right, well, we got another caller on the line, so we go to unscreened caller. You're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
You guys criticize democracy, but I've already shown only an inefficient system like democracy would protect your precious libertarian property system.
So I have a question. I have a question for you. Are you?
Wait, hold on. 5 seconds in, you're interrupting me again. After all, you created it.
You called to yell at us.
Are you on SNAP benefits?
Well, hold on. Give me a sec. Just give me a couple more seconds, Penguin. And would you guys stop trying to convince people that cutting government spending is the cure? If the democratic system ends because of fiscal collapse, all your stupid strategies is working to delay it. Repeal and abolition is not the
We're
most
libertarians. You really think anyone's listening to us outside New Hampshire? You're delusional if you think that.
Well, I'm here to destroy all your theory before it has a chance to, right?
It doesn't have a chance outside New Hampshire, man. There's a reason that we all moved to New Hampshire for the Free State Project.
Yeah, it's to hijack a state. It's to steal a state from the collective. That's what you did. And that's not the most efficient way, right?
Seems to be working pretty well.
How could you steal something that you collectively own?
What's that?
How could you steal something that you collectively own?
Because you don't have full rights to it.
Oh, so it's not collective ownership. It's
just like shareholders
So
only
who actually
partially
owns it
own a
then?
corporation. You can't hold on. You can't just go onto corporate property and steal the forklift, right?
Can I sell my shares in this collective then?
No.
Yeah, and who's the majority shareholder then?
But I don't want
You got
my
it.
shares in the collective, man.
Well, you got it for free, and you can own.
What are you talking about, guy? I pay taxes, man. I didn't get it for free.
You have to keep these shares.
You got it for free.
They're a burden on you
When did
now,
start
and you
paying
can't get rid
taxes?
of them.
Hold on. When did you start paying taxes, Penguin? When did you start paying taxes?
Geez,
What age?
I don't know, like what, 4 maybe?
Well, when were you citizen?
Well, I was born.
I
I was born in the U.S. So my parents, supposedly the government, they all say I'm a citizen since birth.
Yeah.
Hold on, Skeeter. When's the first time your parents gave you $2 to buy a candy bar?
Right. Like I've been paying it since the first time I've ever paid for anything.
But
right? Like-
sales tax is a real tax, dude.
I'm still a citizen before that. I still used the roads before that. They needed to drive to the hospital for me to get delivered.
They didn't have to. They could have had a midwife come to you.
Yeah, there's other solutions to that problem.
Look, you can't get around collective ownership. It totally destroys your whole narrative that you guys are victims. You guys need this. You
do realize that there are
you
entire
can't get around it.
cities that are privately owned, right? And people live in them. There are entire cities that are privately owned, and people live in them.
Cities that are privately owned, like what?
Yeah, like the roads, like they're privately owned. They're not collectively owned.
They're not totally privately owned. They're under the jurisdiction of the United States still.
No.
They have to follow the
Yeah,
rules.
we're talking
They
about
don't-
cities.
look,
There are
when-
cities
so
outside
let
the
me give you-
United
let me give you
States
the definition.
that are privately owned and operated. Okay.
Yeah,
Not under the
special
jurisdiction
economic
of a
zones.
government?
That's right. Well, mostly not under the jurisdiction.
They're under the jurisdiction of the
Everybody's
country
under the thumb of
that
some
granted
thug or
them
another.
That privilege. Oh my God.
Well, for years that was not the case, though. It was privately owned, and there was not.
I can't listen when you're talking like over me. I'm not even finished my. Okay, did you come up with an example of a private road that's not under the jurisdiction of a government?
No, private
right?
road.
So
There's
wrong.
thousands of private roads all over the United States that are not.
Can they do whatever they want? They don't fully own that road because
Yes,
the
they
laws
do, because it's on
restrict
private
what they can
land.
do. Oh my God! What private land? Is it? Are they? They can't do what they want.
Sure,
What
they
you-
can.
What
It's
you're getting at
private
is
land.
their codes and zoning laws.
Let me just say this, right? They own the road because it's in the property system of that country, and it still abides by their rules, right? You can't change your laws on that road.
It depends on the jurisdiction, man. In some jurisdictions,
Let me just show, are there regulations for that private road?
not necessarily. Not that they're not. It depends on the jurisdiction for the road that we're talking about. So in some jurisdictions, your private road is you put whatever speed limit you want, or no speed limit at all. In other jurisdictions, the road may have may fall under. Under a local jurisdiction, even though it's a private road, like you can't speed on a private road. But it depends on the jurisdiction, man.
Give me a real example that's a road that's truly privately owned. It sets all the rules on that piece of land. All the rules. I'm talking about laws.
I mean, you want me to give you a specific street?
There's none. Okay, so
Effectively, I would imagine that the guy who lives way, way out in the desert and nobody has any other reason to go out there except to go to his house, he gets to control what happens on that road, and nobody harasses him about it if he breaks the rules.
This is
Good job letting me finish that one. Way to show some self-control and not talking over people.
You're talking over me and destroying what I'm trying to talk about. I'm trying to talk about, right, that your theories are absurd. Your methods are absurd, right? The strategy that actually works to destroy bad systems is fiscal failure. It attributes blame properly, unlike abolition or repeal or even secession. Like, where did you guys... not only you guys base your theories on bad economic theories.
So how do you incentivize a fiscal failure for parenting somebody who acts like you?
I'm not done. But your strategies like agorism. Why don't you just wait till I'm done? Right? I can't listen to you when you're talking over.
Because you brought up a point, and at that point, I have a serious problem with what you're saying, and you just want to keep going and building on that premise.
I don't think he
which
understands.
I don't think is correct.
I don't think he understands how this show works. Like, so we're supposed to be having a conversation with you.
That's just a conversation.
It's not like
yeah, but if you listen to how you guys quote unquote interrupt people you agree with, you wait till if you catch them in the middle of an argument and you realize that you stop. With me, you just keep going. I'm telling you, I'm not done yet, and you just keep going and talking over me. Now, address what I said.
Why didn't you actually say something instead of arguing with us?
I just did, and then you yelled at me.
Well, here, I'm saying something now, right? Your strategy of agorism is not only self-destructive, but it's inefficient. It doesn't work. Fiscal failure works.
You've said
right?
this so many times. You're literally repeating yourself again and again and again every time you call in.
So by fiscal failure, we're talking like just the system going broke?
Now you can talk and address that. It works, right? How did Ukraine get independence?
How does that work?
How did the Soviet Union dissolve? It's not because stupid libertarians abolished the drug war, right? It's the wars that helped destroy the Soviet Union. And it's doing so again with the war with Ukraine.
So we make everybody poor until they can no longer do bad things, and that's the strategy?
It's a Ponzi scheme. There has to be, someone has to suffer a loss.
That's what you call efficient.
From all that fraud, right? There's a big loss. There's a big debt that can't be repaid.
Yeah.
Now, you could do one of two things. You can do this repeal crap and pay it back and put that burden on the productive taxpayer, or you can have a fiscal failure and attribute that blame to the people who invested in that system.
So one of the problems with your logic here is that it could occur, like what you're saying, but it's probably the least likely scenario to actually end up with a new system. I think there are other answers to these problems that are much more likely to get the results that at least we want here in New Hampshire than if we're
Just name one. Fiscal failure has shown to be effective. Look at Argentina. Now Malays trying to delay that.
I don't need to be living in poverty before the system fails and the system's replaced. And the system that replaces it doesn't necessarily end up looking like what I want anyway. So why would we shoot for fiscal failure as opposed to just changing the system that we've got by moving people to a region that we then have the ability to control?
Yeah, fiscal failure hasn't replaced the post office with anything good.
It adds to the debt burden. When you let them be inefficient, it adds to the debt burden.
Why would you let them do that? That's inefficient.
Shareholders of the company. No, it's not. It's not inefficient. It's just like so how would you dissolve a Ponzi scheme when there's a bunch of fraud? When there's a bunch of losses hidden on the balance
Ponzi scheme, bro.
Of a fraudulent system. How do you dissolve that system?
They just boil out, man.
That on the backs of taxpayers? Do you put that on the backs
of the idiots that bought in when they shouldn't?
Is that what you want to do? Do you want to just slowly pay that loss off with new investor money? Or do you want to attribute the blame to those who invested in the fund?
I don't want to do any of that.
And tell me, you keep talking about there's more. Like, your system will not emerge. I've shown that with simple game theory.
What is my system?
Your system cannot win in the end.
What is my system?
Protecting property based upon lock-in ethics, right? First come, first serve, which is homesteading and involuntary transfer. So
there is something to be said for the yeoman farmer, philosophized about by Thomas Jefferson. However, that's not the begin all and end all of everything. And
I'm saying the market won't provide property defense just because
why not?
You own it in a lock-in chain. Because you're not the most efficient owner, and therefore you're not the person.
How do you know whether I'm the most efficient owner or not?
Based upon what you're willing to bid on the property, right? Your bid will be proportional by how your expected productivity.
Did I not already do that in the system that we've already got? I placed an offer on the house. The offer was accepted. If somebody wants to offer me more money than I paid for my house, okay, and add on, the costs, right, that it took me to get the house in the first place, I might be willing to sell. So make me an offer.
But that system that defends your right to have that decision isn't the most efficient. You shouldn't have that decision.
Well, I would agree with that, I think. No, we don't have the most efficient system for property ownership and control because we have a government, and that's not the best and most efficient solution.
If you agreed, right? I said that you, as the current owner, shouldn't have the right to decide when that property is transferred. Do you still agree? Or you were just interrupting, not hearing?
I don't know if that question makes sense.
I mean, no, of course I should have that right.
You currently own your house, right? You currently own your house.
Yep.
You shouldn't have the total right when that house, the ownership of that house is transferred.
Why?
Right? Because
why should my house be different than other private property?
You're saying after he sold it?
No. Before he sells it, he doesn't. In a market system, he will not have that right to determine when he should sell the property.
Why wouldn't I have it?
Because you're not the highest bidder for that property.
But I was the highest bidder. I literally was the highest bidder. Nobody else was offering the owner of the property prior to me more than I offered them.
I'm talking about during the conflict when someone challenges your ownership and puts in a bid to a property enforcer, right? So someone enforcing property ownership, they're gonna sell their services to the highest bidder, not the rightful owner. That's what I'm trying to say, and that is due to productivity, right?
No, that's protectionism.
That is maximization of productivity.
That's
when someone has a higher expected. So if you had a higher expected productivity
in your theoretical system here,
you would try to outbid them. Oh my God!
Real quick.
Like, you don't understand. You keep interrupting.
All right. Thanks for the call. I wonder if in his theoretical system, if that's never mind. I can't even have. It takes a lot of mental energy to keep up with that guy saying.
Yeah,
because
try to wrap your head around it.
Jeez.
It sounds like red line must go up no matter consequence. Is all he
give us a
wants
call
to go for.
The phone number is 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
Email is easy, instant, and free, and that can be real embarrassing. Email lacks the eye contact and body language you get in face-to-face conversation, or the tone of voice and other nuance you hear in a telephone conversation. Email is just words, often few words. We're all smothering in spam, so we often reply in terse fashion that's easy to misunderstand. And email doesn't cost you a postage stamp, and it lacks the deliberation time it'd take to walk to the snail mail box. So it's easy to succumb to the "oh yeah" stimulus response trap. When in doubt, don't snap back at snippy messages you get. You may have mistaken the sender's intent. And unless you're sending AOL to AOL, there's no unsend. For more tips on critical communication skills for the way things are now, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Tony Waterman, and this is the Week in Review. The week started off in dramatic fashion with a brazen daytime heist at the world's most famous museum. Thieves stole 8 pieces of diamond, pearl, and emerald-encrusted jewels from the Louvre on Sunday morning, valued at more than $100 million. Investigators spent the week trying to track down the perpetrators before the artifacts can be melted down or broken into parts for resale. FSN's William Denslow reports from Brussels.
In a social media post, Emmanuel Macron said that the theft amounted to an attack on France's heritage. He added that everything is being done to recover the stolen jewels and bring the perpetrators to justice. The thieves launched the raid at 9:30 a.m. local time on Sunday morning and were in and out within 7 minutes, snatching several pieces of jewellery, including a necklace laced with emeralds and diamonds belonging to Napoleon's wife.
This week was also dominated by news out of Gaza, where a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is coming under intense strain. Pockets of violence have erupted on both sides, and Vice President J.D. Vance spent part of the week in Israel trying to restore calm. On Thursday, the vice president slammed Israel's parliament vote on annexing the West Bank. FSN's Blake Sifton reports from Tel Aviv.
At the end of his visit to Israel on Thursday, Vice President Vance said that the International Stabilization Force envisioned for Gaza would take the lead on disarming Hamas, one of the most difficult challenges in President Trump's 20-point peace plan. According to the original plan, the International Stabilization Force was meant to assist with securing Gaza as Israeli forces fully withdraw. The U.S. has said they won't put troops on the ground in Gaza, and a mandate to disarm Hamas could dissuade countries from participating out of concern that their soldiers could engage in direct conflict with Hamas.
The other conflict in President Trump's line of vision, Russia's war in Ukraine, also entered new territory this week. The White House slapping new sanctions on Russia's oil industry in an attempt to get President Vladimir Putin to the negotiating table. FSN's Charlotte North reports from Washington.
The US has sanctioned Russia's 2 biggest oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil, that help fund the Kremlin's war against Ukraine. This is the first direct intervention from the Trump administration against Russia over its invasion and follows a series of sudden shifts in US policy over the past week. After a phone call with Putin last week, peace talks in Budapest were on, then abruptly cancelled a few days later. The US leader had a testy meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky. President Trump may have finally gotten fed up with both leaders and is now playing hardball to pressure them to agree to peace.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. talk radio you control. You can call and get your thoughts and ideas on the air. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. And I'd like to thank Richard for being an amplifier with us here at Free Talk Live. That means that Richard went to amps.freetalklive.com and signed up to support the show. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. Thanks again to Richard and everyone who supports us. Again, that's amps.freetalklive.com if you'd like to check out the perks and benefits of becoming an amplifier. We've been talking about the SNAP benefits running out for people, and also the mess that it's going to cause with the, your government-run healthcare systems.
I almost feel, dude, I don't know. It feels like everything's coming to a head all at the same time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like we got wars, the talks of wars. We got societal collapse, healthcare collapse, a housing bubble.
Trump sent the aircraft carrier into the Caribbean.
It has. It's not there yet. They're still in.
It's on its way.
Yeah, they're in the year. They're still in Europe.
Jeez.
So they might. It's going to be a couple weeks. If anything does pop off in Venezuela, it'll be for a couple weeks because the boat's got to get from Europe. Maybe you stop off in Norfolk for like a refitting and refueling, like a checkup, and then down to the Caribbean. So it's not there yet, but it's on its way.
Well, that's not gonna be good. If anybody's not really aware of what that's, so he's saying this is a narco-terrorism thing right? And he's now authorized the CIA to go in there and conduct operations on the ground, and he's saying this is all about the drug war thing, but it's partially about the drug war thing, but it's more like, hey, you're stepping on my turf. Because
I was kind of talking about that last night.
Because America's the empire that runs that trade, and then it's also partially like, hey, like you guys have oil that we buy from you, so you better be one of our pets.
That
kind
too.
Of a thing. And,
I think a lot of it does. I think a lot of it has to do with stepping on the CIA's money. With like Maduro's like, screw it, I'll sell the drugs myself and make money with the drugs. And the CIA is like, whoa.
Yeah, that's what
this
we
is
do.
Unsanctioned, dude. Yeah, this is our money. How dare you use it to make money for your government? These drugs are supposed to make money for my government.
Mm-hmm. And if any of the listeners think that that this is nonsense or lies, that's what Vietnam was about. That's what Afghanistan was about. You can ask one of the soldiers that was protecting poppy fields if that's what it was about. And they'll tell you it was, if they, cared to look around at all. Anyways, people are going to lose. Oh, I got this quick article. It's real short. Also on the food stamp thing, or the well is run dry. It's from Yahoo News. It was posted recently, so we got some updates. Department of Agriculture has officially informed Americans that there will be no food assistance benefits issued on November 1st due to the government shutdown. The stunning notice blaming Democrats for the lapse in benefits was posted to its website Sunday, saying Senate Democrats, I think that's today, Senate Democrats have now voted 12 times not to fund the food stamp program, also known as, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Bottom line, the well has run dry. At this time, there will be no benefits issued November 1st. We are approaching an inflection point for Senate Democrats. They can continue to hold out for health care for illegal aliens and gender mutilation procedures, or reopen the government so mothers, babies, and the most vulnerable among us can receive critical nutrition assistance. That's one way to frame it, I guess. The federal government estimates that up to 42 million Americans rely on SNAP benefits, also known as food stamps, to feed their families. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, I think is how you say his name.
Glenn Youngkin.
Preempted the announcement by declaring a state of emergency. Yay! The Democrat shutdown would cause SNAP benefits to run out for over 850,000 Virginians in need starting November 1st. I refuse to let hungry Virginians be used as leverage by congressional Democrats. I am declaring a state of emergency due to the Democrat shutdown to protect hungry Virginians in need, Youngkin said in a press release, adding that the Commonwealth will provide food benefits until the government shutdown is over and benefits are restored. Congressional Democrats have refused to reopen the government until Republicans agree to discuss extending tax credits for Americans using the Affordable Care Act for health insurance. Senator Minority Leader Chuck Schumer claimed that without the subsidies, insurance rates will become out of reach for millions of Americans. The typical couple, 55 years old, who makes about $85,000 a year, will pay $25,000 more in health care. That's astounding. That's enough to bankrupt working families, drain someone's entire retirement savings, or force someone to go without health care at all. What a horrible choice. It's not that bad, Chucky. CNN reported the USDA will not rely on its $6 billion contingency fund to cover food stamp benefits. Many Republicans agree that the healthcare system is broken, but won't negotiate with Democrats until the government reopens.
Wait a minute. Did I hear that they have a contingency fund in order to ensure that it keeps going, but they're not going to use it?
That's right. They have $6 billion.
So what's the point of the fund?
Well, I think they're just using it as a bludgeoning tool. I mean, that's what they do with all federal
funding. So
funding.
it's completely politics.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's there's supposed to be a fund, but during all the Doge stuff, they went and spent that on something else.
Yeah, I could believe that one.
Or the fund is actually the slush fund, and we can't touch that. We need it for our drug empire.
Yep. Anyways, that's the end of that article. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. It's a terrible situation to be in, to be dependent on our government program of any kind, whether it be healthcare or food. You got to figure that out. You got time. Go to Amazon.com and buy a book on local wild edibles and learn how to eat stuff that just grows naturally around you, and you won't starve to death, and you won't have to rob anyone. Like dandelions are food. Most people don't know that.
Yeah, but what grows in the middle of Richmond, Virginia? It's concrete.
Well, inside the city?
Yeah,
it's gonna be a little tougher, but
the city's gonna get
there's a park
weird.
And it's got some things in there.
Not if they spray it with a bunch of pesticides all year round.
Wash it. I mean, your produce at the store is sprayed with pesticides.
True, but I mean, just like preventing stuff from growing. Period.
There is something called a tent. You could get yourself a tent.
Mm-hmm.
You could use your two legs, and you could walk.
Yep.
You can walk someplace that isn't a city. It isn't concrete.
Yep.
And you could get yourself a job.
There's that. Well,
that's something that used to happen back in the day before big government stepped in. People would travel. They'd
drifters.
They'd leave their country.
Getting out of a city is a daunting task, and I don't think that people need to. Anyways, you should be able to live in a city if that's where you want to live. The problems of the city need to be mitigated on an individual level. So you need to have extra preparation plans because you don't have an abundance of wild edibles, and you don't have some other things that nature provides because it's all been concreted over. But there are pros and cons to living in city or out in the country. But anyways, we've got this other story. It's kind of a local thing, but also involves China. So this is from Fox 59 or CBS 4. Is that the same channel here? I don't know. News Nation. When the $67 million Chinese mystery in New Hampshire.
Oh yeah. What's going on with that? Did they ever figure out what the story is behind it?
Well, let's see what they have to say. When a billionaire Chinese businessman and his company quietly purchased a commercial building in Nashua, New Hampshire, they ostensibly set up a water plant. The deal went largely unnoticed. That changed when the purchase price was publicly revealed. The company Nongfu Spring, owned by Zhongshan, is China's largest beverage company. The site is next to the Penachuk water system and allows the company to use local water for a beverage plant. What's raising eyebrows is the mystery of why the company paid $67 million in cash for a property valued at $15 million. Being tied into our Pennachuck water system and taking millions of gallons a day of drinking water from the citizens of Nashua is very concerning, local resident Bob Lazo told Nexstar's News Nation.
Why? Why is that concerning?
Not sure.
Isn't there plenty of water to go around? I mean, this is New Hampshire, guys.
I know that.
And
I agree. Every year they're like, oh no, there's a drought. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You can't possibly have a drought in a place where flooding is a regular thing.
Right. And I mean, it's not like it's not going to go into people. Like, you're literally producing a product that's liquid, like that's going to be ingested by people.
He said most folks in Nashua didn't know about the sale before it happened. State Senator Kevin Avard, a Republican whose district includes part of Nashua, shared his concerns. You have the airport here, you have our water supply, and they are looking to capture, he told News Nation.
It's a portion of the water supply. It's not like the entire water supply.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
It
but
depends.
so so if it is just purely a financial thing, why is he paying $70 million for a $15 million property?
Yeah,
That's a more interesting question, but none of this, like, I mean, the bottling plant doesn't seem to be that big of a deal.
Yeah,
if
so
that's all it is.
If that's all it is, why are you paying an extra?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why, if that's all it is, it makes no sense to pay so much more over asking.
It does.
That just makes no sense.
So, all right, does the store get into that part of it?
Well, let's find out. The building spans 330,000 square feet and is situated on 23 acres. It's close to the Nashua Airport, several defense centers, and a Federal Aviation Administration control center. Lily Tang Williams fled communism in China and is now running for Congress in New Hampshire as a Republican. I did research in English and Mandarin, which is my first language, and I was just shocked, Williams told News Nation. I have been trying to warn people, she said. Xi Jinping has a China dream, and his China dream is to use a soft power invasion. Business, education, apps like TikTok and WeChat, media, entertainment, everything they can without firing one shot to expand into Western countries like the United States. She said China doesn't want her to discuss what she calls the soft power invasion and the national security concerns associated with projects like the Nongfu Spring plant. Asked what would happen if she spoke out about it in China, she said, I would disappear. I'm afraid if I go back and I go in, they won't let me go out. I would disappear. They want me to shut up. The Nongfu Spring expansion in Nashua isn't the only Chinese investment. A few miles away, a Chinese investor purchased the former campus of what was Daniel Webster College. The 50-acre site was sold for $14 million about 7 years ago, but it's mostly abandoned today. The mayor of Nashua, Jim Donches, said the investor paid double what the property was worth.
So a Chinese investor bought an entire college campus for double what the campus was worth?
So please do explain to me, what is the problem with this?
I just don't understand. Economically, it was ridiculous. Why would you do that?
Yeah,
unless you're getting sent by somebody to do something. If you're a businessman, that's a bad business decision. I'm surprised you've made as much money as you had if you're going around paying. What is that? Like it's a $15 million building, and he paid $67 million. That's like I'm not great at math. I'm going to say like a 500% increase. You're paying 500% more money for this property. That doesn't sound like a good business investment.
When asked why Nongfu Spring would pay more than 4 times the assessed value for the property by the water plant, he said, "It's very weird. Why would they do that? I have no idea." The mayor said he's not against the project and doesn't believe there are any national security concerns.
I have an idea why it might be that they paid 4 times the assessed value. So it might be the value of the property is greater than the assessed value. So I'm trying to think of an example, but
so what was it listed at?
So I don't know, but like the value of something is like, I know, for example, there are let's see, I'm trying to think like chains, big box chains, right? Stores, and they will often get an assessed value for tax purposes, and they will argue this that is a fraction of the building's like value when it's in use. And the idea is that the value of the property or the building is less because nobody else can use it once that property goes into disuse, basically. Nobody else would be interested in buying that property. This is like the logic behind it. So the assessed value might be far less than what it's actually worth, like on the market to somebody.
Maybe, but it doesn't seem like that's the case, because if it were that, then somebody would have, discovered that were the reason, and it would be kind of a non-question, but it's possible it's that.
I don't see what else it would be.
But then what use does the guy
corruption.
have for the other Chinese billionaire have for the college campus down the street?
Could be the same thing. Assessed value is less than the actual value.
I mean,
because it's assessed value suggests taxation. So assessed value could be far less than the actual value of the properties that he's buying.
Yeah, this story was from June 12th too. So this is.
I mean, look at it this way. My property was assessed at $200,000, shortly after I bought it. 5 years later, it's $450,000, but the assessed value is still $200,000. So,
okay.
So does it say? So was it listed? Does it have a list price anywhere? It keeps talking about assessed price. It had to be listed for sale somewhere, right? For this guy to go buy it.
I'm not sure.
But they're talking about it was over the assessed value, not the listed price. So the listed price might have been around what he paid for it.
Mm-hmm. It might have been, yeah. It doesn't really say though.
It sounds like this is the story is manipulating like the facts, or somebody is manipulating the facts for their own personal benefit.
Maybe. Oh, yeah. This was a few months ago. I wonder. Seems like there should be an answer to that by now, but so the alternative, the reason that people would be worried about it is that it could be, like,
well, it sounds like fear mongering.
Like Lily said, the soft power takeover. Do you know how, about Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and how they use industrial plants to basically strong arm control over local governments?
I mean, that's what China's doing in Africa right now.
Right.
Like everywhere.
Right.
And they're going in and saying, hey, we'll build you infrastructure at an insane
and they didn't
interest
invent the
rate.
game,
Yeah, but
and they
they're-
didn't start it, but
but
they
they're-
are getting good at it.
But they're issuing the loans in that case, which is a little bit different, and then taking over those properties once they're not being paid back because the value of the property isn't worth the loan amount. And
Yeah,
so they
but I mean, maybe
collapse.
it's just part of a long-term strategy.
It is a
which-
long-term.
But that's not what's
it-
going on here. They're literally paying more than the value, more than the property.
Because it's it's long-term.
Right. It might
Eventually
not,
they're
it might
banking
not be
on...
going on here, but it might be, and they're just slow, they're doing the slow play on it so that at the end of it, it looks like, Nashua buys their water from China kind of a thing.
But that's not what they bought. They bought
No, and there would be several more steps in this, but maybe that's part of the greasing the wheels for a company that would never get sold. You see what I'm saying?
I don't know.
Which is the
I
water
think I suspect
management
it's more the tax assessment is less than the value of the price because they just haven't. So in New Hampshire, for people to understand what's going on, probably here is at least I don't know about this particular case because this is involving commercial buildings, but like your residential properties are assessed once every 5 years.
Yeah, they
for
don't
taxes.
even go inside; they just look at it from the curb.
Right. So if the property's value has increased since it was last assessed, you could sell a property for greatly more than the property was assessed for tax purposes.
Yeah, that all makes sense. So it could just be worth more than
that's what it's coming off to me as, and they're using this assessed value as basically fear mongering propaganda for political reasons.
Could be a nothing burger.
Yeah.
We got a caller on the line, so we're going to go to the phones. On-screen caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hi there. This is Parker from Connecticut. I know you're talking about the Chinese buying up land and businesses in America. I wanted to get your take on Trump getting equity stakes in businesses like Intel and like lithium mines over in Nevada, and basically just why we're becoming closer to the Chinese government in, terms of, government ownership or stakes in our private economy.
Well, I think that just comes back to it's easier to manage people that way, and they don't really they're not interested in helping you. They're interested in managing you effectively.
Do you guys know what the situation is exactly on like the details of that? Is it a loan, or is it a government loan to Intel, or is it
some of them? So they're loans that are also convertible, but some of them are direct equity stakes, such as in Lithium Americas and Mountain Pass Materials. So, I mean, it sounds like the U.S. government is taking partial ownership under the reasoning of national security and being able to produce batteries and lithium, which China has a natural monopoly on lithium.
Yes. Yeah, the national security argument kind of makes sense a little bit.
Yeah, but I think it's tiptoeing in the direction. I mean, look at Intel. That's not. I mean, I guess when can we argue? We could just argue everything is national security. You know, if our computers and drone companies. I understand.
I don't think you can argue everything is national security. Just because, like, for example, national security really comes down to more along the lines of, okay, it's not whether or not we can produce 100% of the product ourselves. It's whether or not we can produce enough of the product ourselves for military purposes. So,
but do you think that's where it'll stop? I mean, is the idea of using chips as leverage, and it's kind of using these stakes in what I think should be run privately, to manipulate geopolitics. I'm not really sure if that, if it aligns with what I understand.
Right. So like, you don't necessarily need to own the factories. For example, you can just buy the product from the factories that to a degree that it will, sustain those factories, something along those lines.
Gotcha.
But
like a corn subsidy? Is kind of what I'm hearing.
Yeah, kind of maybe more like a corn subsidy.
But
again, the point is national security, not just to have for the sake of having farms.
Well, it's more like a purchasing agreement.
Companies are always
that makes sense. Well, I mean, but a purchasing agreement is a corn subsidy. The government agrees to buy X amount of my corn every year.
It is, but if it's beyond what's needed to sustain the nation, it's no longer a national security issue.
That's true. That's just floating.
Yeah, and also the corn subsidy sometimes involves not growing anything. I don't know.
True. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
And sometimes the government pays people to just let their fields not grow anything.
Well, that's because there's an overabundance from last year, right? Like, we don't need as many potatoes this year.
Well, what are they going to do with all that field corn?
Give it to your cows.
It's not human consumption corn, right? Right. It's not even really cow consumption corn, but they feed it to them anyway.
But yeah, there's also other interesting things, like in regards to that, right? Like, so from a national security perspective, you don't even necessarily need to have it, entirely manufactured necessarily like in the United States. You could have alongside your partners, for example, there could be a manufacturing capability amongst like countries. So for example, Europe and the United States maybe could have the capability of manufacturing CPUs, for example. It doesn't necessarily have to be exclusively the United States, assuming that it fulfills the military objective of having that capability.
Well, that's why we back Taiwan so hard, right?
We're coming up against it. Do you want to hold on through the break, or did you get your thoughts out?
I'll hold on.
Okay. Yeah, we'll hold you through. We'll be back with more Free Talk Live in a few minutes. You can call in and get your thoughts on the air. It's 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
Yeah, then what are you going to do about it? Instead of sitting on a microphone, what are you going to do about it?
I've stopped paying income tax. My partner spent 60 days in jail for standing in the way of a police car that was taking somebody to jail that he didn't believe should be taken to jail.
So I've done cop blocking, I've done outreach, I've done all kinds of stuff. Do you need more? I've run for political office. I've gone to the State House and testified many times, and I also do civil disobedience. What else can I do?
It's like it's pathetic, really. I mean, it's
What's
bad.
pathetic, sir?
What's
pathetic?
The two of you are.
How's that exactly?
The two of you are because you're pathetic. You just sit there and rail about stuff that you don't do a thing about.
What are you doing, Danny? Tell me something I could do that's
I'm
not
not
pathetic.
hosting a show. I'm not hosting a show. I'm
I
not
see.
the one that comes.
So you have no ideas. You have nothing
He's
original.
got microphone
and
in
now
right
you're
there.
going bye-bye.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern at freetalklive.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Tony Waterman, and this is the Week in Review. The week started off in dramatic fashion with a brazen daytime heist at the world's most famous museum. Thieves stole 8 pieces of diamond, pearl, and emerald-encrusted jewels from the Louvre on Sunday morning, valued at more than $100 million. Investigators spent the week trying to track down the perpetrators before the artifacts can be melted down or broken into parts for resale. FSN's William Denslow reports from Brussels.
In a social media post, Emmanuel Macron said that the theft amounted to an attack on France's heritage. He added that everything is being done to recover the stolen jewels and bring the perpetrators to justice. The thieves launched the raid at 9:30 a.m. local time on Sunday morning and were in and out within 7 minutes, snatching several pieces of jewellery, including a necklace laced with emeralds and diamonds belonging to Napoleon's wife.
This week was also dominated by news out of Gaza, where a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is coming under intense strain. Pockets of violence have erupted on both sides, and Vice President J.D. Vance spent part of the week in Israel trying to restore calm. On Thursday, the vice president slammed Israel's parliament vote on annexing the West Bank. FSN's Blake Sifton reports from Tel Aviv.
At the end of his visit to Israel on Thursday, Vice President Vance said that the International Stabilization Force envisioned for Gaza would take the lead on disarming Hamas, one of the most difficult challenges in President Trump's 20-point peace plan. According to the original plan, the International Stabilization Force was meant to assist with securing Gaza as Israeli forces fully withdraw. The U.S. has said they won't put troops on the ground in Gaza, and a mandate to disarm Hamas could dissuade countries from participating out of concern that their soldiers could engage in direct conflict with Hamas.
The other conflict in President Trump's line of vision, Russia's war in Ukraine, also entered new territory this week. The White House slapping new sanctions on Russia's oil industry in an attempt to get President Vladimir Putin to the negotiating table. FSN's Charlotte North reports from Washington.
The US has sanctioned Russia's 2 biggest oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil, that help fund the Kremlin's war against Ukraine. This is the first direct intervention from the Trump administration against Russia over its invasion and follows a series of sudden shifts in US policy over the past week. After a phone call with Putin last week, peace talks in Budapest were on, then abruptly cancelled a few days later. The US leader had a testy meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky. President Trump may have finally gotten fed up with both leaders and is now playing hardball to pressure them to agree to peace.
The government shutdown entered its fourth week, with Republicans urging President Donald Trump to engage in the stalemate with Democrats. Lawmakers in the Senate continued to vote on the dueling funding bills this week and continued to fail to pass them. FSN's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
So far, President Donald Trump has said he won't engage or negotiate with Democrats until they pass the Republican bill. Democrats, though, have ruled out supporting the legislation as it doesn't include an extension to healthcare subsidies for millions of Americans. Some Republicans are now privately urging the president to take a more front-seat role. In the meantime, Republican lawmakers are eyeing several strategies to put pressure on their Democrat colleagues, including planning a vote on giving pay to the military and considering a funding extension that would keep the money flowing into the new year.
For a week that started with drama, it ended with drama too, with shocking allegations of widespread corruption in the U.S.'s National Basketball Association. An NBA player and coach are among more than 30 people arrested by the FBI as part of a sweeping investigation into illegal betting and rigged poker games. U.S. authorities said the two separate but related cases involved tens of millions of dollars in illegal profits. FSN's Jagruti Dev has more.
At a news conference, FBI Director Kash Patel announced investigators had uncovered a mind-boggling level of fraud. He said one case centered around an illicit gambling operation with ties to the mafia. The other case, he said, involved an insider sports betting scheme. Chauncey Billups, head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and Terry Rozier, who plays for Miami Heat, are two of the high-profile arrests announced by U.S. officials on Thursday.
And that was the Week in Review. For Feature Story News, Tony Waterman reporting.
This is the Onion Week in Review. A Colorado man reminisced Monday about a simpler time when he only masturbated to still images on the internet. 36-year-old Timothy Barchuk, who now says he requires multiple streaming hardcore videos just to get excited, willfully reflected on the days of waiting for slowly loading images of naked women to appear.
Look at this picture of Phoebe Cates. Sure, you can pull it up in 2 seconds now. Back in the old days, you'd have to wait for it to materialize on your screen pixel by pixel. It's not about her tits, which are nice, but it's about waiting for them. Nowadays, you can pull up 8 different videos of anal sex at once. Who cares?
In local news, the person who will one day become the warlord ruler of what was once Nebraska is born in an Omaha hospital. And in other news, a man and woman get drunk and blow $30,000 in one night. A lonely college student calls up his mom to talk about Harold and Kumar, and another dead body is tossed on a heap somewhere. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control. You can call and get your thoughts in. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's Stu.
And Mr. Penguin.
And Angelo.
We were on the phone with Parker from Connecticut talking about national security and Chinese buying mineral rights in the U.S. Is that right?
Yep. And the U.S. federal government taking equity stakes in companies. And my question is, when do libertarians start raising the alarm if Trump were to say the federal government wants a 51% stake in Facebook or TikTok? How far are they going to stretch the national security excuse?
Well, they kind of already did with TikTok.
Yeah.
Well, it's already happened. Now there's a U.S. TikTok, and it's ran by a buddy of Donald Trump. That's who bought it. So
Did they? actually end up being able to secure that? Because I can't remember if they actually were successful.
Yeah, it went through. They approved it. They're supposed to be building like a U.S. only version of TikTok.
Do you guys hear the audio of Netanyahu talking to a bunch of reporters like they were a classroom? And
They weren't reporters. It was a bunch of young right-wing influencers.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, he was talking to them like they were students of his, and he's like,
Because that's essentially what they were doing.
What's the most important purchase going on right now? Oh, it's TikTok, right? And
we have to talk to Elon. He's a friend of us.
Is that a private company or is it the federal government?
Yeah, I don't really know.
Because
I haven't looked at it that closely.
I think there's a difference between Elon Musk buying X and a government equity stake.
Well, I mean, if it's
of course, yeah, for sure, right?
There is and there isn't. These social media companies have pretty much all had whistleblowers that came out and said we were told what to censor by some government official or another. So.
And in a way, Trump is just taking the mask off, saying, "Yeah, we're going to own your shit." My bad.
Yeah, I think I got that in time.
Nice.
Hope and pray.
Yeah.
Pray to the algo.
Yep. Certain words you can't use on the air here. Thanks for the call.
He sounded so sorry about it.
Yeah, I'm sure he was.
It definitely was not intentional.
That's okay. Give us a call another night, and you can have another shot at keeping your language clean. I'm pre-trained in this because I grew up Mormon, and so whenever I went home, I had to not use certain words, and those are the same ones that the FCC will get mad about. We've got another caller on the line. So on the screen, caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hey, it's Ridley.
Oh, hey, Ridley.
Welcome.
Oh, thanks. So I received an email this weekend from Reason Magazine, and it wasn't a piece of spam. It was an invitation to submit an article.
Oh.
From
However,
Reason?
Yeah.
Nice.
I remember back in the early 80s, Reason Magazine was the very first spark of liberty in me when I would read them at the school library, was the college library, back in 1985 or so.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. So it's kind of exciting, but I think there's a good chance they actually won't run it, because they were really just responding to me. I made a suggestion, but I didn't expect to get a response at all. And they said, yeah, go ahead and submit something. It's going to be a hard sell, but go ahead and give it a shot. So I've been writing articles for Free Keen about AI. I don't know if you've read any of them.
I've seen them.
So these seem to get an awful lot of human engagement. The most recent one had 600 comments, although a lot of that was people calling each other jerks. It does seem to be an issue that people do like to talk about and read about. And I do think that us Liberty folk have something to bring to the table. It's just not being brought to the table.
Well, not brought to the table enough, for sure. That voice, I think, it is a voice of reason, I think. But we usually are the voice of reason in most topics. But of course we think that the Liberty guys are the voice of reason because that's what we agree with. But yeah, I think we should have more of a talk about it more, I guess. We talk about it on the show a lot, I feel like. AI is a pretty big thing for us.
Biased towards ourselves, it's possible. We have to be on alert for that. But if you think about it, if you listen to all the, doomdebates.com or all the other AI discussion groups and whatnot, these are brilliant people. It's so much fun to listen to, but you don't hear the libertarian argument very much. The zero aggression principle doesn't even come up. And it's a fairly viable alternative sort of to the old Isaac Newton or the old, 3 laws of robotics that Isaac Asimov used to have.
I feel like we got to explain what we're talking about right now, because we're lacking detail and our audience does not have any idea what we're talking about.
Good. Can you summarize?
I can't.
Okay, let me summarize.
Yeah.
I'm talking about artificial general or artificial superintelligence, probably the most important issue on this earth for the next 5 or 10 years. The likelihood that machines will be smarter than humans fairly soon and able to do everything humans can do better than humans can do. It's considered an existential risk a possible extinction level event for humans. Does that make sense?
I think you explained it well.
Okay, so and the science community is baffled as to how to solve this risk, right? Like you can't control something that's smarter than you, and yet some of them talk about controlling it. That probably won't work. There are other solutions people are talking about. There's a guy I've called Free Talk Live about before named Steve Burns, he's got a program he's working on that's ready to kind of stick in at the last minute if they make an out of control superintelligence that's trying to kill all humans. He thinks he has a 10% chance of success. They're grasping at straws.
Couldn't you just unplug it? Like,
no, you couldn't, because by the time you know it's there, if it's really that smart, it would distribute itself to many different systems before you pull the plug.
Okay. I mean, how is it going to get into these systems? So it's gonna be like develop a malware or something, or some sort of virus that like spreads. And then
Neil Tyson has the answer for that question. It talks to one of its engineers who's working on it. One of the people any of the humans that it has communication with. It says, "I understand your mother had cancer. I know how to cure it. Just let me out." Something like that.
Okay.
That guy's one of the least listening toable people that I know of. Neil deGrasse Tyson. He is such an idiot.
I mean, I haven't seen anything that resembles. What I'm trying to think of the choice word. General. It's not general intelligence. Is that the word I'm looking for? I can't remember now.
Artificial general, AGI.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. That represents that. Like, we have large language models, but that's not the same thing.
I kind of am skeptical that they'll ever get to what they call artificial general intelligence.
Yeah, like I'm a bit skeptical myself on, like, it's been around the corner for like every 10 years it's a thing, and it's like never comes to fruition. I mean, there's been advancements with like AI, but like it's not really AI.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's AI, but it's not general yet.
Yeah, right.
It's getting close, and Ray Kurzweil predicted that it would happen in 2029, and he has an 86% accuracy rating. The artificial superintelligence would probably follow soon after that. I don't want to. I'm go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this has been talked about since the 50s, like long before my time, and it's always been right around the corner. So it's like,
yeah, this is not. We can't look. We got to look at this with the same harshness we look at fusion. Right? Fusion's always right around the corner, or 30 years away, and it never arrives. And they never seem to make any progress until very recently. But with artificial intelligence, they do have a lot of progress that they can report over the last 5 years. It's been phenomenal. There'll probably be a break or a downturn for a while, but the next big development could be a week away. And again, we argue with Ray Kurzweil's timeline at our peril. He's almost always right about these kinds of things. We probably will get AGI around 2029.
I'm pretty sure Ray Kurzweil is under the impression that what makes a human being what they are is all nuts and bolts mechanical stuff, and it can all be housed in a computer. I disagree.
I think
that's why I don't think it's going to get to that point.
Yeah, I think what the real situation is it's more along the lines of where it's going to get better, but it's going to be so incremental that it's not even going to be noticeable. Like so right now, like the most intelligent thing we can do is like basically like a worm, and maybe it's a little bit more advanced than that. But the point is, it's nothing to be like panicking over. It's just we have the appearance of intelligence. Well, there's not even really the appearance of intelligence with large language models. It's just basically putting the next word that's the most likely to come next, and so it's actually really kind of stupid, actually. But because the computers have gotten so much more powerful than they were, it looks sort of cool, but it isn't really intelligent in any way, shape, or form. And the AGI stuff that we do have, to the degree we have it, is so dumb you wouldn't even recognize it as like any kind of intelligence.
You'd immediately spot that it's a computer.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like the actual like human being, like there's trillions and trillions of neurons, and like like you can't even begin to represent that from a technology standpoint using the technology of we have today. So
what about if you involve quantum computing, or is quantum computing like a fairy tale?
They've got it, but it's in its infancy. Like it's.
So I mean, well, that's the big thing is if that's in its infancy, like eventually these two things are going to combine, wouldn't they?
There's certain things you could do with quantum computing that you can't do with traditional computing, but I'm not an expert and I can't really get into too much detail on this.
Yep, me neither. Dave? Are you still there, Dave?
I think we might have lost him. I heard some beeping or some sort of beep. And
yeah, it was a bit of a squelch sound.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure if that was a disconnect, but...
Yeah, I think he got his point across.
Yeah.
That's really cool. They asked him to submit an article, though.
Yeah,
especially for a magazine.
I don't know, like AGI for a reason that doesn't seem like it. I don't know, just doesn't quite. And I would love to have asked him, like, how does this relate to, like, libertarian and the non-aggression principle?
Yeah. That'd be a fun avenue of conversation as well.
Well, because that's what we were trying to get into, but we were just trying to lay a groundwork to jump into that.
Yeah, right. Like, we never actually got into it, and he's now off the line, so...
Well, we have a caller on the line.
Maybe he's back.
It might be Dave calling back.
Yeah.
You're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure what happened. But I was just saying, I wasn't calling to try and convince you of the timeline.
There is a one call per night rule, but with an accidental drop, we'll waive it on this one. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I wasn't trying to call you. I wasn't trying to convince you of a timeline. That's the scientist's job to figure that stuff out. But there are many veteran scientists who are sort of becoming political novices right now, and they're realizing the societal implications of what they're creating, and they're trying to do something about it. And many of them are falling into the trap of thinking they can use congressional regulation to make everything better. Does it make sense?
Yeah. So how does the non-aggression principle relate to AGI?
If AGI is programmed with the non-aggression principle, as I'm programming my AIs now, it has an effect on its behavior. And I think the zero aggression principle is not perfect. It could probably use some clarification, but it's difficult to imagine an artificial superintelligence that's closely following the non-aggression principle and also at the same time going on a rampage against humanity.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So here's another kind of thing that kind of baffles me. So we think of like AGI, right? Like, let's say we have AGI. So assuming it's anything like our current large language models, we're going to have different large. We already have different large language models. Would we not also have different AGIs? So, I don't know. Like, this whole takeover thing seems kind of I don't know, kind of silly. Like, you're going to end up with one that doesn't agree, right? Like, or that doesn't have that.
Well, in theory, if these things go rogue, they'll seek to wipe out the others.
Yeah, but what makes anyone think that one is going to be more powerful than another, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Call me skeptical. Call me skeptical.
Yeah, currently some of the models are a lot more powerful than others. The leading model is significantly more powerful than the number two. Later on, the number two may overtake it, and so forth.
Yeah.
But that's what you're talking about is called a singleton. And you're not arguing with me. You're arguing with computer science philosopher Nick Bostrom over at Oxford, who I think coined the term. And a singleton is an artificial superintelligence that develops, maybe a week before someone else was going to develop one, maybe 2 weeks before. But for that superintelligence, things are so fast, and we are so slow, and the competition is so slow that the self-iterations are very rapid, and over a period of hours or days, you could get one superintelligence that is capable of suppressing all other intelligence on the planet. That is possible.
Yep.
I mean, call me skeptical.
Theoretically, that's possible.
That's assuming that like all of these systems are connected together and a whole bunch of other things. Like, I don't know.
Well, isn't that what the internet is? Is most of us just being connected? And if it's working on a level that we don't even think about looking for so quickly that it's just everywhere before we know it. Like it gets on one TikTok that just blows up and everybody shares it everywhere.
I mean, look, we have viruses already, right? Like they infect systems. It doesn't, but when there's a virus, it doesn't infect all systems, right? Like, I mean, this is fear mongering. I mean, to think that this AGI is going to, magically from day one going to be so powerful that it's not likely to work that way. It's likely to be very dumb, actually. And then over time, as the technology gets more dense, you end up seeing it being able to do actually, useful stuff. But initially, it's not going to be that way.
Well, I guess I think what Dave's trying to get at.
It seems like fear mongering to me, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And it's not Dave. It's what Dave is talking about other scientists reporting and saying.
Well, no, I think what he's trying to say is that even if it is fear mongering, there should be somebody standing up and saying government regulation is not the answer for these concerns. And there's not enough scientists standing up and saying the government is not the answer for the concerns we have with AI.
Well, I definitely agree with that. I mean, this seems to be like why would you even begin to try and regulate this? We don't see a problem. There's no problem. There's no foreseeable problem here yet. And it's so far, we're so far, it's so something that's going to be so far out in the future. Why worry about it?
If you're correct about that, Chris, then that's all the more reason to make sure Congress doesn't regulate this stuff. And again, that's what all these brilliant minds are starting to push for, is congressional regulation that could take us to the very doom they're trying to avoid. Because if you think about it, congressional regulation usually locks in the lead of the top players, right, and shoves the newbies out of the way.
Yeah,
that's
creates
probably
a
what would happen in
monopoly
this
condition.
case. And that's what would bring about that singleton that I'm worried about and you're not worried about.
So you think this is a real credible threat that AI takes over everything?
I don't think the AGI thing is a threat. What I think is a threat is the government. The government's the threat, because it's going to try and lock it down so that we don't have access, basically.
Yeah. What you were talking about earlier with the idea of everybody having AGI, that is what some of the scientists are pushing for, like Emad Mostaque. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I hope so. And yes, if everybody's got their own super intelligence, that's probably a pretty good outcome.
Yeah, everybody just has their own personal super intelligence with them. Yeah. Almost like a Cortana.
Yeah, but Jarvis.
That could be
like a Jarvis,
Yeah, it could be a first-rate outcome for humanity, but it's not guaranteed. Again, if Congress steps in and starts trying and closes the door behind these top companies and they start getting a monopoly again, that's when we have an even bigger problem on our hands. It's an ethical minefield.
So an open-sourced AI that is like your own personal Pokemon is what is the answer. You'll just have your own personal one from an open source.
My gut is that you're not even going to be able to do AGI at all without some massive arrays of computers, especially early on. And then even once you have that, it's not going to be that intelligent. It's not going to be that intelligent. It's not even going to come off as intelligent.
I think the massive arrays of computers are already all set up.
Well, sure, but the only thing they're doing is large language models, which is not at all scary at all. I mean, outside of maybe it's basically what we see as like artificial intelligence right now is merely pattern recognition, which is, and that's not really that scary.
Well, I mean, with the bot floods and stuff that they do use these LLMs for, like on the internet, I think that's concerning. That's a problem.
Like what are you talking about?
Bot farms. You know what a bot farm is?
Yeah.
Where they just make up a bunch of fake accounts and then attach these fake accounts to large language models to go and just post stuff that you think is like a real person talking.
Are you talking about the bots that are so
like fake accounts?
Okay, so there's a real problem with bots that are being used to generate the AI models, gathering data from websites, and because the rate at which they're trying to gather that data, the websites are going down.
Well, I'm just
That's
talking
a real
about like
problem,
information suppression, because you have a bunch of fake like social media accounts that you're not talking to a person. This is not a person posting this account. It's an LLM attached to this fake account saying, I really like this video and everything, and it's true. I'm from India and I believe it, so I was there.
Okay.
And it's from an account but it's not a real person.
So you're talking about influencing.
Yeah,
bots,
you can influencing.
Okay, so what you're ultimately talking about is basically what happened with Russia and Putin in some of the election cycles.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, every government does it. The CIA does it in other countries.
Yeah, I mean, this honestly doesn't bother me or concern me all that much at all. It just seems like it's like one of these things where it's like, okay, let the free market duke it out. It's like let the left do it, let the right do it, let the libertarians do it, let Putin do it. It's free speech.
Yeah, I just think it's going to destroy the internet. It's going to make it unusable because eventually it's just you think it's all just terrible propaganda now. Like you think it's garbage now. Eventually, it'll just 100% be generated slop, just to confuse you to the point where you don't know what's actually going on.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Thanks for the call, Dave Ridley. Would look forward to seeing your article in Raisin Magazine. This is a very interesting topic. What do you think about the AI inevitable takeover, as some people frame it, or are you not so worried like me and Mr. Penguin? Give us a call. Let us know. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Tony Waterman, and this is the Week in Review. The week started off in dramatic fashion with a brazen daytime heist at the world's most famous museum. Thieves stole 8 pieces of diamond, pearl, and emerald-encrusted jewels from the Louvre on Sunday morning, valued at more than $100 million. Investigators spent the week trying to track down the perpetrators before the artifacts can be melted down or broken into parts for resale. FSN's William Denslow reports from Brussels.
In a social media post, Emmanuel Macron said that the theft amounted to an attack on France's heritage. He added that everything is being done to recover the stolen jewels and bring the perpetrators to justice. The thieves launched the raid at 9:30 a.m. local time on Sunday morning and were in and out within 7 minutes, snatching several pieces of jewellery, including a necklace laced with emeralds and diamonds belonging to Napoleon's wife.
This week was also dominated by news out of Gaza, where a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is coming under intense strain. Pockets of violence have erupted on both sides, and Vice President J.D. Vance spent part of the week in Israel trying to restore calm. On Thursday, the vice president slammed Israel's parliament vote on annexing the West Bank. FSN's Blake Sifton reports from Tel Aviv.
At the end of his visit to Israel on Thursday, Vice President Vance said that the International Stabilization Force envisioned for Gaza would take the lead on disarming Hamas, one of the most difficult challenges in President Trump's 20-point peace plan. According to the original plan, the International Stabilization Force was meant to assist with securing Gaza as Israeli forces fully withdraw. The U.S. has said they won't put troops on the ground in Gaza, and a mandate to disarm Hamas could dissuade countries from participating out of concern that their soldiers could engage in direct conflict with Hamas.
The other conflict in President Trump's line of vision, Russia's war in Ukraine, also entered new territory this week. The White House slapping new sanctions on Russia's oil industry in an attempt to get President Vladimir Putin to the negotiating table. FSN's Charlotte North reports from Washington.
The US has sanctioned Russia's two biggest oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil, that help fund the Kremlin's war against Ukraine. This is the first direct intervention from the Trump administration against Russia over its invasion and follows a series of sudden shifts in US policy over the past week. After a phone call with Putin last week, peace talks in Budapest were on, then abruptly cancelled a few days later. The US leader had a testy meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky. President Trump may have finally gotten fed up with both leaders and is now playing hardball to pressure them to agree to peace.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live. It's talk radio you control. Give us a call. Let us know what's on your mind. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, you have Stu,
Mr. Penguin,
and Angelo.
So we've been kind of all over the place today. Recently talking about the AI risk. Both Penguin and I are skeptical. I know what the arguments are about it. I still just have my doubts.
As you should.
We started out the night talking about the SNAP benefits that's going to end for a lot of people on November 1st. And that's going to be interesting. We got, let's see here, story I wanted to get into. Kind of a weird one. I don't know how much sense it's going to make because this is U.S. targets Cambodian pig butchering. Hold on. U.S. targets Cambodian pig butchering. Takes $14 billion in Bitcoin as biggest ever seizure. But right now we've got a caller on the line, so we're going to go to the phones. On the screen, caller, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I was wondering if any of you ever had to do a phone switch, just how bad it is, how annoying it is trying to transfer all your data from one phone to another when it breaks right there.
Yeah, that's annoying. I've had to do it a couple times, and I always run like the oldest version of the iPhone.
Do you guys not just swap the SIM card from one phone to the next?
It doesn't.
Oh, no.
It doesn't work exactly like that with Apple.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an Apple problem. I understood.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh no, this case is Samsung right there, and
well, I guess he's talking about like pictures and stuff too, like all your contact lists, your pictures.
Okay, understood.
Like trying to transfer all of the data, not just the.
He said phone number, so I just assumed he meant the literal like number.
Yeah. Swapping all your digital information over from one phone to the other.
What a way to lose half a day just doing that.
Yep.
I swear to God right there. And then not only that, but the most annoying part is trying to log in to all of your like accounts again right there, because apparently it doesn't transfer that part, at least not with Android products. I think it does with Apple though.
Yeah, Apple right does there. Now. It does if you transfer your Apple ID onto a new product. Mm-hmm. Most of your apps are still logged in. I don't know if your banking apps are. Definitely not your banking stuff, but like your social medias, like your like if you're on social media, should already like be logged in, or like your DoorDash account should already be logged in.
Yeah, but then also apparently sometimes if you want to do that tap to pay on some of these phones right there, sometimes your card bank be like, I think this card might be stolen. And you're just standing there for half an hour waiting for customer service to recognize, like, no, it was you. You just transferred your stuff from one phone to another, And
well, that's one reason
I
I've
just wonder-
never added my banking information to my phone's payment system because
it seems like a really bad idea to me.
Yeah, they're
I don't do my debit, but just like like one of those smaller credit cards where it's like just a moderate limit, and you just like like something suspicious.
A prepaid Visa or something.
Yeah, like a Cash App card. I put my Cash App card on my Tap to Pay.
I might do that.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's that convenience, but good God, sometimes it's a pain in the ass trying to transfer just that right there. And I just want to vent on that. Anyone still calling about Halloween stuff or no?
We haven't had any tonight. Do you got something spooky?
Not really. I just wanted to hear about it right there. But yeah.
Is tonight like Halloween or something?
This is our pre-Halloween because next
because we're not going to
weekend-
be on during Halloween. I understand.
Yeah, so we're doing it now because if you talk about Halloween on post October 31st, you're lame. Bonnie thinks it's
show
lame.
on Halloween night,
Well, we're gonna do something fun here for Halloween. I think Bonnie has something planned. We're gonna I don't know if she's gonna do it, and I don't want to ruin the surprise. But she said she's gonna do something fun. We're gonna throw a party here, but that we should be live in the studio. We'll just let people know that if you're gonna be in the studio, you'll be on the stream. But we're gonna put 2 skeletons in the chair and dress them up as some prior hosts and run a rerun episode of those 2 hosts.
Oh, that'll be funny.
In the chairs, but we'll be live. We'll be live on the stream.
Hosts, like Mark or
it'll be Mark and Ian, and we're gonna dress the skeletons up in like outfits of theirs, and run a rerun.
Every time I've ever been in the same room, Ian, you could always tell, like, dude, that guy was pretty skeletal anyway. Like, eat something, bro.
Yeah,
Ian's pretty thin.
Yeah, so Bonnie's just gonna go throw some of his clothes on a skeleton, and then make like a Mark looking outfit and run a rerun. So we'll be live, but the audio we'll be live online
on the freetalklive.com.
But we'll be live online, but we won't be on the radio.
I don't listen on the radio anyway. I just hope you record it so I can download it later.
Yep, that's how I listen too.
All right. That's good to know. Anyway, I gotta get going back to doing some Uber stuff here.
Yep. Thanks for the call tonight. All right. Let's see how this story goes. About 14 billion in Bitcoin as biggest ever seizure.
From who?
From a Cambodian pig butchering operation.
I am kind of curious how they seized the Bitcoin. Because my understanding is that the local government is like basically the military, but it's not the military of Cambodia. It's more like a local military of some kind,
like a militia.
Yeah.
So it's a paramilitary occupied area.
Yeah, it's like it's a separatist, some sort of separatist military.
Oh, okay.
Or militia, basically. So like the government of Cambodia is not in charge, and neither is Thailand. So did Thailand invade Cambodia, or what happened?
So the Thai government, the Thai government took this money, or the U.S. government?
Well, it was probably like the U.S. government working with the Thai government or something.
So
like
who's
that.
walking away with the Bitcoin?
Tell us the story. Why don't you get into it?
Today's action represents one of the most significant strikes ever against the global scourge of human trafficking and cyber-enabled financial fraud, said U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi in a statement. And in a coordinated effort, the U.S. Department of Treasury said it sanctioned Prince Group on Tuesday, designating it a transnational criminal organization and blocking its financial activity and the ability for people to do business with it without U.S. repercussions. According to a DOJ statement, the defendant and his executives secretly grew Prince Group into one of Asia's largest transnational criminal organizations. One of the leading money generators, according to the U.S. authorities, was so-called pig butchering, in which people, largely in the U.S., are scammed for crypto assets they often believe are going toward remote romantic partners. Is this like the love scams?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Prince Group carried out these schemes by trafficking hundreds of workers and forcing them to work in compounds in Cambodia and execute the scams, often under the threat of violence, the statement said, describing barbed wire compounds, political influence, and sophisticated crypto laundering efforts.
Oh, you know what this actually sounds like? This sounds like they grabbed a bunch of cam girls and enslaved them to talk to these guys and then just took all the money they made from the cam sites.
Yeah.
Is what sounds like. They took a bunch of women and took them to compounds to talk to these men. It sounds like it was like a forced cam site, like a porn site forced to be on like live cam feeds,
maybe,
and doing stuff. And then you talk to the guys and
I mean, so my understanding of it is that they have been tricking people from China in particular into traveling to Cambodia for the purpose of basically, baiting, people into, or the girls, right? The love scams, right? So, yeah.
Is it
so? So they're tricking them to come to Cambodia and then putting them in these compounds for what?
To make them work is 20 something hours a day, basically.
Oh, okay.
So the people who are actually doing the scamming, like they're talking to you, are actually being enslaved.
That's what I was saying. It's
Yeah,
like it's women that are enslaved on these sites.
My understanding is it's not just women. It's anybody they can convince to travel to Cambodia. And a big portion, and they're targeting like Chinese immigrants, basically.
I see.
And other, but heavily Chinese, I think, at the moment.
Hold on. On the same day, the Treasury finalized a rule to entirely sever Cambodian conglomerate Huaing Group from the U.S. financial system, the most potent action in the U.S. international financial arsenal. It said Phnom Penh-based Huion has been laundering proceeds of crypto scams. The rapid rise of transnational fraud has cost American citizens billions of dollars, with life savings wiped out in minutes, said Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent in a statement. The Treasury Department has steadily been circling Cambodian criminal enterprises, targeting individuals allegedly connected with the vast array of illicit activities there. Those crypto-funded operations have long been a focus of digital assets, analytics firms, investigators, and even congressional inquiry. Though the system hasn't yet been established in the U.S., the Treasury Department has been trying to implement President Donald Trump's order to set up a Bitcoin reserve. That strategic reserve is meant as the destination of any Bitcoin seized by the U.S. government, suggesting a potential final stop for the billions in assets taken in this case.
I want to know how did they seize these Bitcoin? I really want to know. They just say, "Oh, we seized it," but they don't explain how they did it. Did they invade Cambodia? Like what happened?
The specific assets seized in the Prince Group case originated as assets said to be stolen from Liu Bang, a Bitcoin mining operation working out of China and Iran, and controlled by Prince's Chen, according to an analysis from Elliptic. Once said to be the sixth largest crypto mining operation in the world, Liu Bang shut down shortly after the assets were said to go missing in 2020. It remains unclear how the Bitcoins came to be in U.S. custody, Elliptic said in its report on Tuesday. It's also unclear who stole the Bitcoins from Chen Liu Bang, or whether a theft really took place. So
it could be some sort of hacking operation.
Yeah, that's the kind of story that kind of gives you more questions.
Which is really kind of humorous because they're basically dishonestly obtaining the crypto that was dishonestly obtained.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, if the government steals ill-gotten gains, then...
Yeah, I don't know. Are you really upset about that? It's just thieves stealing from thieves.
It's kind of like, are you going to call the cops when the local corrupt cop steals your cocaine and doesn't write you a ticket? Who are you going to tell?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, this is one of these things where it's like the government shouldn't be doing this, but at the same time, like,
neither should those guys.
Right. Like, it's like I'm not going to get upset at either. I'm not going to get upset because the government did something bad. I'm not going to get upset because these people did something bad. I'm not going to get upset because people were stupid enough to actually like send their money to some random person on the internet, right? Like,
yeah, that's more of like, I mean, you know what? I'm gonna be honest, fellas. This is pretty messed up. That's pretty much all you can say about it.
People need to learn, from their mistakes, and they need to learn from their mistakes long before they get to this point, in their lives. And the fact that we've babied basically Americans to this point where that they can be deceived so easily like this is the real problem. The only way you're going to solve this is by enabling people to be more free and make those mistakes at a younger age, so that by the time they get to the point in which they have lots of cash, they're not making the mistakes, with more substantial assets that they need to, maybe, live out the rest of their days.
I feel like that's also a question about like senileness, I guess. Like, at what point is like, if you watch, are you sitting there watching your dad give obviously a fake scammer like your inheritance, like hundreds of thousands of dollars in Bitcoin? At what point can you step in and be like, Dad, you've lost the plot. This person isn't real.
Yeah, I mean, and this is an interesting question. I think this is something that there's potentially solutions for, but the free market, you would need a free market to actually see them come into fruition, and we don't have that. We have a regulated market, so the banks only ever do what the government orders them to do, and nobody actually comes up with a solution to the problem. And I think the real solution to this problem is pretty simple. It can be implemented in different ways, but one of the ways, and probably the best way, is an opt-in solution to basically managing your finances such that you have access to your finances in old age and you can do what you want with them. But in order to make, say, a large transaction, you have to get a sign off from a second or third party, in other words, so that you can't accidentally or be deceived without there being some backup, basically, because that's one of these things. There's nothing stopping somebody who's senile from sending $170,000 right to some third party. But there could just be a little check mark on the account saying, hey, the money in this account, in this financial account, if it exceeds a certain threshold, maybe it's 1.75% of or 175% of what you would normally see withdrawn from the account in that month. If it exceeds that, hey, you now need to get a sign off from a second party. And, because I mean, obviously your average individual isn't going to, elderly person isn't going to be spending 175% of what they normally spend on average in a given month. So it's not actually going to negatively harm them in any way. They're still going to be in control of their own finances.
True. But then who makes that decision, right? Then we're coming into a whole...
Well, I would say it's voluntary. So you opt into that system. Nobody's forced into it. It's something that, you opt into. And why not opt into it? Because, at the end of the day, it doesn't actually affect you in terms of being able to make your own financial decisions in old age. It only protects you from possibly mistakes that you might be making. Yeah,
if it's 100% voluntary, but I can see like if grandma's lost the plot and she's not going to sign off on anything, and you're sitting here watching this lady who's obviously lost her mind, like, throw all of her money away, and there's just nothing you can do as her child to stop it. It just, because she said, no, I don't want any help. I got it. And then she just continues to damage herself. I guess she's legally allowed to do that, but I just feel like as like a family member, there should be like a way for you to step in. But it shouldn't be the government stepping in, right?
Well, I mean, here's the question: Would she have let you step in to help her stop making a mistake at 20? Well, maybe not 25, but say 40. If she wouldn't, then what gives you the right to step in now that she's 75?
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. That's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, people have the right to make mistakes. They have the right to make bad decisions.
That's true. I just feel like if you can obviously tell your mom's like not in, like that's not of sound mind, like
Right, but
you've seen the deterioration.
But obviously, the solution to this problem is you don't wait until they get to the point of not of sound mind.
Yeah, you got to talk about it sooner.
You got to get them to sign up for the program to prevent them from accidentally sending their money away.
When they're 40, not when they're 75.
Maybe at retirement, as opposed to when they get 75, 80 years of age.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. So yeah, I agree. Yeah. I'm with it. I see what you're saying.
I mean, these solutions really aren't that complicated. Like there is a solution. It's just banks don't. The market is so regulated that the banks basically are forced to throw up their hands almost because it's there's not much they can do. There's not much they can do. They're literally ordered to do something called KYC, which is know your customer. But obviously KYC doesn't work. We've seen that. I mean, you don't get to $14 billion, something like that.
Yeah,
$14 billion.
Yeah, you don't get to $14 billion if KYC actually worked. And KYC, for those who don't know, it stands for know your customer. But the person either selling Bitcoin or the banks don't have the capability to know whether or not somebody is making a wise choice or not, and it's not their business. It's like
exactly. Like I don't want the bank making that decision either.
No, and that's why a private solution to this problem, a better solution, would be a non-regulated solution, and that people voluntarily enrolled in. As opposed to a one-size-fits-all solution that doesn't actually ever work, and it's just designed to pull the wool over people's eyes, the public's eyes, as if the government is doing something about it. Unfortunately, the law enforcement in the United States basically goes right alongside it and acts as if they're doing something about it. But if you actually look at the statistics, what percentage of these people get their money back? Almost nobody gets their money back.
Yeah, so exactly.
If law enforcement is so ineffective that the system doesn't work, the KYC system doesn't work, why, one, are we paying law enforcement, and two, why are we even regulating it all? The free market would clearly be capable of putting together a better solution than this if we actually were allowed to, say, set up a bank, implement some of these solutions. But you can't just create your own bank and let people participate. It's a highly regulated thing where you have to have millions of dollars in order to set up a bank. And
it's the same thing like the airstrip we were talking about at the beginning of the episode. If you try to open your own bank or like your own hospital, right? Mm-hmm. There's so many. No, that's not happening. You'll have the entire weight of the U.S. government on your shoulder the next day.
And this wasn't always this way, right? This is the other thing people have to remember. We created solutions to problems, but in the process, we also created new problems. And this is sort of one of those problems. So regulations were supposed to stop people like banks from going under, for example, but there's now new ways to lose your money, right? Like,
well, that was a terrible idea in the first place.
Well, the bank can just put all their money into loans. They know that all your money, not their money. The banks can just put all your money into hyperinflated housing lending that is going to fail.
If you put your money in the bank, it's not your money anymore. That's the bank's money.
Right. I mean, ultimately,
which they may or may not allow you to use.
Well, people should have learned from things like the Great Depression and other problems that have occurred over the years is that you can't trust banks, and you shouldn't be trusting banks. You should be holding your own money. And people have been scared into stuffing money under their mattress. But at the end of the day, that's not necessarily as bad of an idea as people are made to believe.
Well, but no, they murdered that with inflation.
Like, so self-custody Bitcoin now, though.
Sure. So, okay. So actual dollars, no, maybe not.
Like under your mattress, that just doesn't work anymore.
No, but certainly gold still potentially works. Right?
Yeah, gold would be a better thing.
Like you can use dollars to buy gold and stick it under your mattress. I'm not saying that that's what people should be doing. I'm just saying that's still a better solution. Than sticking your money in a bank in many cases. Because people forget that the government regularly takes money from people's bank accounts and from the dollars. Even they're not necessarily taking money like, oh, you're going to see like an amount withdrawn from your account, they're going to do it through inflation, right? So the value, they're going to skim off the top, right? So the dollar, notice a dollar, in 1995 would get you a slice of pizza. Today, you're going to be paying $4 for a slice of pizza. If you stuck that dollar into a bank account in 1995, you wouldn't even be able to get a slice of pizza today.
Yeah, it's not harder to make a pizza today. In fact, it's easier. It just costs more because they stole that money from you without you being able to see it.
If you had purchased gold in 1995 and you had it under your mattress, well, guess what?
You can buy like 30 pizzas.
The number of dollars, if you sold that gold, if you had $1 of gold under your mattress in 1995 and you sold it today, you'd be getting $4, $4 US. So,
which buys the same amount of pizza, give or take a little bit.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
I kind of like silver a little more than gold, but they're both really good. I like gold backs a lot.
I think backing up a moment, just to say, I'm not saying gold is the best investment. It's not. There's other investments you can make that'll actually give you a return on your money, right?
And but the bank isn't it.
Yeah, the bank is just not it.
The dollars in general are not it. This has been Free Talk Live. We'll be back next weekend. You can give us a call and get your thoughts on the air. Thanks for listening. Peace.
This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. Tired of the ever-inflating US dollar? You can live your life on Dash instead with some handy websites. BitRefill.com has been accepting Dash for years and has a ton of big-name retailers and brands, including grocers,